Episode 221, Keeper of Evelyn's Phone. Mark smiled after hearing Harvey's question about challenging him and said seriously, "That's right. I am competing with you for Evelyn this time." Harvey snorted and said sarcastically, "I admire your courage, but you are too naive if you think you can intimidate me by telling me this. I did not want to frighten you. I made this decision for myself to pursue Evelyn without any more secrets. There's another reason why I called you this time. I want you to know that Evelyn and I have completely laid out our cards. I am no longer her brother," Mark said. "That's just your opinion. You will always be Evelyn's little brother in her heart," Harvey said calmly. Mark smiled and retorted, "You can't say for sure. At least for now, she can't treat me like a brother. There are many ways to make her think of me as a man, you know." Harvey was silent for a few seconds. Then his voice turned cold. "Mark, I'm warning you not to challenge me. If you dare to do anything to her, I don't know what I will do. You will also know that I am not a good person." "I'm also warning you," said Mark. "I'm still saying the same thing. She's not a woman that you can toy with. If you want to find a lover, find a young model. Don't bother her, and let go. No matter how much advantage you have now, she will still choose me in the end. Because in this world, I'm the only one who will keep her safe and accompany her forever." Yes, he was the only one. Timothy had already missed his chance, and he chose to let go. On the other hand, Harvey was just a glorious passing interest in her life. The situation with Harvey would come to an end someday. She knew it herself. So it didn't matter who Evelyn was thinking about right now. As long as Mark treated her well and proved he had feelings for her, she would stay by him. She would understand. She would realize that Harvey was a passerby and that he would always be with her. No matter what happened, that would never change. Harvey wanted to retort, but Mark was gone. He had hung up the phone. "Damn it!" Harvey angrily threw his phone on the ground. He was furious. He had been tricked. Mark was like a stubborn candy that stuck to Evelyn's shoe. It was impossible to continue like this. Even a relentless river would not be able to resist the current of love. Right now, Evelyn was wholeheartedly treating Mark as her younger brother. Who could guarantee that she would not change in the future and Mark would not do anything unthinkable? Harvey knew what his shortcoming was. He could give Evelyn many material things. However, he could not provide Evelyn much emotionally. He could not respond to her feelings, could not give her a proper title. He had always been against getting married and having children. He had never even thought about it. However, Evelyn was an ordinary woman. Getting married and having children were only natural in her life. He couldn't give it to her, but Mark could. If it came to this, what would Evelyn choose? Harvey held his face and took a deep breath. His emotions were volatile and he was anxious. Sometimes the scene of Mark and Evelyn's wedding appeared in his mind, and the happy look of a family of 3 appeared. "No, absolutely not. Evelyn, you are mine." Harvey's declaration was absolute as he pursed his lips. Mark walked out after hanging up the phone. Evelyn was still awake in the studio. Tomorrow was the second round of the competition. She was worried. Mark looked at her through the open door and saw her nervousness. His eyes were gentle. He turned around and made her a cup of black tea. Just as Mark walked in, Evelyn's phone rang. Evelyn looked at the name displayed on the screen and felt fear grip her. It was Harvey. Why didn't he call her earlier or later? Why did he have to call at this moment? Evelyn picked up the phone in a hurry and said awkwardly, "Seriously? Harassing phone calls at this time of night?" Evelyn prayed in her heart that Harvey would not call again. Mark smiled and walked to her side. He put down the teacup and picked up Evelyn's phone. Evelyn's heart was beating very fast. She was afraid that Harvey would call again, and she was even more fearful that Mark would pick up Harvey's call. However, Mark turned off the phone and said to her, "Tomorrow is very important to you. Since there is an alarm clock in your room, you don't need your phone. I will keep your phone for the night." "Mark, I appreciate it, but I can keep the phone myself." Evelyn was nervous. No matter how she thought about it, she felt wrong. Mark looked back and said with a charming smile, "Sure, but the price of getting the phone back is to give me a kiss." The corner of Evelyn's mouth twitched. She took a deep breath and said, Then give me the phone tomorrow morning." Sure enough, she was no match for Mark. Evelyn also did not know against whom she could fight. She had been defeated by Harvey many times. Mark used to be able to bargain with her as her younger brother, but now he could not gain any advantage at all. "Okay," Mark agreed and walked away. Evelyn looked at his back and frowned. This little devil must have known that the call was from Harvey. Forget it. She hoped that Mark wouldn't do anything wrong with her phone, but this was impossible. When he returned to the bedroom, the first thing Mark did was turn on the phone and use her phone to send Harvey a text message. "Harvey, don't come and disturb my life anymore. I've thought about it for a long time. Living with Mark is what I want. As such a powerful man, you won't have an issue finding someone new. So let's not meet each other again. We'll never be with each other again." In Harvey's house, he received the message after not being able to get through to Evelyn. Harvey held the phone in his hand and was silent for a few seconds. This time, he did not throw the phone. If it hadn't been for the promise he and Evelyn had made at the door of St. Roland's a few days ago, he might have believed this text, but he knew better. Ooh, that damned Mark. His skills were good. Too bad Harvey did not believe Evelyn would say something like this to him. He was confident about Evelyn. At least for now, she liked him. However, it was still perilous for Mark to stay by Evelyn's side. Harvey replied briefly, "Brat, it's too early for you to lie to me. Go to bed." Mark received the message and clicked his tongue regretfully. I didn't expect this guy to be so smart. But even though it was not easy to lie to him, Harvey would not be able to talk to Evelyn on the phone tonight. He had already disconnected the phone at home, so Evelyn could not call him back. He would have a good night's sleep. Mark switched off his phone and went to sleep. He dreamt of the Hamilton group and the people who had risked their lives with him and for him. Episode 222, A Secret Note. Mark couldn't help but ask those people in his dream if they regretted risking their lives for him. "I want to ask if they blame me for this irresponsible retreat. I apologize. You gave up your lives and I let it go so easily. I'm sorry, maybe you're going to blame me. I guess you're going to blame me. But I still have to follow this path. In my next life, I will choose you and live an unhappy life. But in this lifetime, I want to be by her side." At the end of the dream, he saw a flower that bloomed so beautifully, as if it would never disappear. However, Mark did not know that dreams were often the opposite of reality. At that moment, he did not realize that the seed of danger had already been planted. It is dangerous for one man to live like a god in the eyes of others, for he can be both a god and a devil. Crystal had lost the god of her heart and gone completely mad. A tiny seed had sprouted in her heart. She would take her boss back from that woman who didn't understand anything. "You don't understand, Evelyn. He smiles all day long and is protected very well. You have no idea how wrong he is for staying by your side. He's my boss, my life, and you're trying to make him ordinary and leave us forever. I could give my life for him, and you're nothing. He has to come back." Staring at the picture of Evelyn, Crystal slashed at her face, muttering maniacally. The following day, Evelyn went to the venue after having her breakfast. It seemed like a century had passed since Mark's injury. When Evelyn saw Luke backstage, she had a new attitude. Of course, Luke did not know that she had regained her memory. When he brushed past her, he leaned over and said in a warm voice, "You can do it. I am waiting for our celebratory dinner." Evelyn looked to the side and saw that his face had become wholly mature and warm. The corners of her mouth curled into a faint smile, and she said, "All right." No matter how you looked at it, it was still unbelievable. Luke's face had changed so much. "If you hadn't come looking for me, I probably wouldn't have recognized you if we had just rubbed shoulders on the road." After receiving her reply, Luke left in a good mood. Previously, he had been very busy with the New Orleans business, so he did not contact her. They planned a meal together this time, and he had something to give her. The competition went very smoothly. However, someone in the judging panel would occasionally look at Evelyn with a severe expression, making her hair stand on end. When Evelyn finished shaking hands with the others, Harvey shook hands with her in silence. He did not say anything serious, but he secretly slipped her a note. Evelyn lowered her head, her face slightly red. What was he doing? He even passed a note. Couldn't he send a text message? Even though she said this in her heart, Evelyn still hurried to open the note as soon as she got off the stage. Harvey had written the note in a row of simple words. Vehicle plate JKV12I, parked in the parking lot outside the TV station. Go and get into the car. Evelyn frowned. What was the meaning of these words? Asking her to go to this car? Where was he taking her? After hesitating for a while, Evelyn pursed her lips and turned over the note in her hand. She saw that it was torn off the grading tablet at the judge's table. How disrespectful was Harvey to sit as a judge? Evelyn smiled and tidied up her things before walking out. After a few steps, her phone rang. Mark had been busy with the handover today. He had dealt with his matters and thought she had finished the competition, so he called her. Evelyn picked it up. What was the result? Mark asked her. I won, Evelyn replied with a smile. Mark had expected this, so he said, although I knew it would be like this, it is still worth celebrating. I will pick you up and we will celebrate. Mark's words made Evelyn feel awkward. She still had Harvey's note in her hand. She needed to go to Harvey's car. She couldn't be gone at night, though, because she had already agreed to meet Luke. But what was she going to tell Mark? If she said that she was going out with Harvey, Mark would be very displeased. But if she didn't tell the truth, she didn't think there was any lie that could fool Mark. Just as she was hesitating, someone suddenly snatched her phone away. The deep voice of a man rang out. I'm sorry. I asked her out first, so I am taking her away. The man hung up the phone. Evelyn looked at him in shock, her eyes wide open. Harvey! Evelyn stared at Harvey. He switched off her phone and put it in his pocket, staring at her. Just what was he doing? Give me my phone back. Now, Evelyn said unhappily. Mark would be angry. How could he do that? You have to leave with me. Don't think about contacting that kid, Harvey said, pulling her away. Evelyn looked around and whispered, Are you crazy? We're at a TV station. What if we're seen together? Let go of me. Evelyn felt her heart skip a beat as she tried to shake Harvey off. This man had caused quite a stir recently. Harvey frowned. He looked at Evelyn and said, I told you to get into that car because I was worried that the media would find us. I'll give you two choices now. Be good and get into the car, or be carried by me to the car. Evelyn felt that this was not the place to talk. She hurriedly nodded in agreement. Okay, I will go by myself. We will talk in the car. Evelyn left in a hurry. She found the car and got in. The driver did not wait for Harvey, but drove out instead. After driving for more than 10 minutes, the driver stopped at a quiet intersection, turned around and said to Evelyn, Miss Petal, Mr. Cage will be here soon. Okay, I got it, she replied as the driver got out of the car. Harvey opened the door and slid into the driver's seat. Evelyn stared at his face earnestly. She thought that now that he was in the car, Harvey had to allow her to call Mark back to explain. Why are you looking at me? I know I'm very handsome. The man in the driver's seat glanced at her and said narcissistically. Evelyn's mouth twitched in anger. Harvey, stop messing around. Please give me the phone. I have to call Mark. He will be worried. Evelyn pursed her lips and opened her hands to ask Harvey for the phone. Why will he be worried? Harvey asked. I'm not a beast, he said. What's there to be afraid of? You guys seem to be in the wrong places. You should be his guardian, right? Harvey had no plan to give the phone back to Evelyn. The message Mark sent him yesterday made him very unhappy. Now it was his turn to teach Mark a lesson. Episode 223, Surprise for Evelyn. Evelyn frowned. Harvey's words were harsh and unusual. She remembered that Mark had taken her phone last night. Although she couldn't find the record on her phone today, she could say that something had happened between them last night. "Did Mark do something with my phone last night?" Evelyn asked after hesitating for a moment. She then said, "He is a young man. A boy. It would help if you did not lower yourself to his level." Harvey raised his eyebrows and sneered. "Why would I lower myself to his level?" Evelyn fell silent. "Why don't you give my phone back to me? Why did you do the same thing as Mark and confiscate my phone?" Evelyn knew that she could not take her phone back easily. She sighed and turned to ask Harvey, "Where are you taking me?" It was hard to tell where they were going. Evelyn had an appointment that night. "We will be there soon," Harvey said. "We will go back to the house after we get our things. Lunch is ready." "Get our things? What things?" Evelyn blinked. Harvey said bluntly, "You'll find out later." Looking at Harvey's mysterious look, Evelyn couldn't help but think about what it was. After a while, the car turned into a street with a row of music stores. They stopped in front of a retro European store. Evelyn followed Harvey out of the car. Harvey said, "This is the place." He pushed open the door and walked in. The bell on the door rang. The sound of various musical scores could be heard. Evelyn suddenly felt as if she had returned to the past. The glow of dusk coated everything with a layer of golden light. When she opened the door, Evelyn heard the sound of one of her favorite pieces playing. She liked it very much. Sometimes, she would go to the park and play a song when she was in a good mood. She would only play a tune quietly in the park for the children. She wanted to be a violinist like her mother and find a man as gentle as her father. The dreams of the past were as vivid as yesterday. "Mr. Cage, I'm glad that you are here. The things you ordered are ready." A voice broke through the silence and Evelyn's reverie. She blinked as she came back to her senses. Harvey had already spoken to the store owner, then waved her over. Evelyn walked over and saw a violin. She was stunned for a moment and turned to see Harvey avert his gaze. Harvey said, "The one in my house is good, but it's not suitable for you to play often. I ordered this one, especially for you. I don't know if you still like the violin, but I still want to give you one. We need to play at least one song together." Evelyn looked at the violin and mumbled in a daze. "But this is too valuable." She knew about violins and knew it was expensive. "Your name is engraved here. If you don't accept it, this violin will be meaningless." Harvey had always been domineering. He leaned over to her and said, "It's already like this. You have to accept it. Otherwise, this beautiful object will be wasted." Evelyn looked at him and touched the violin with her fingers. She could feel Harvey choosing this violin very carefully for her. A warm feeling flowed through her heart. Evelyn lowered her head and said softly, "Thank you." Harvey was satisfied when he heard that and knew she would accept it. When they went out, Evelyn carried the violin to the car. She placed the violin on her knees in the car, gently caressing the case. Even the case was exquisitely made. It was carved with rose flowers and had an inscription, "To the most beautiful you." Her heart was beating a little fast. Evelyn felt Harvey's care in selecting this and thought she had fallen deeper in love with him. When they arrived at Harvey's house, Evelyn saw some flowers growing in the yard the moment she entered. Her house used to have similar flowers growing there. Evelyn saw that she could not move a single step away from them. Harvey stopped and said, "I just planted them. Do you think they look good?" Evelyn nodded and muttered, "It looks great." She seemed to be able to see her father's form watering the lawn. The sound of the violin echoed in the space. The flowers were stained with crystal clear water droplets, shining brightly in the sun. And then she and Mark would come back, and Dad would greet them with a smile. Mom would put away the violin and ask them what they wanted to eat. If only there were a time machine in this world. Evelyn wanted to go back to the past, even if it was only for a day. If she could relive her past, even at the cost of the rest of her life, it would be worth it. "Do you like it?" Harvey's gentle voice sounded beside her. She tilted her head and looked at his handsome face. She never seemed to have said that she liked these flowers, and she only said once about the violin. However, he seemed to know everything. Could it be that Harvey knew everything about her? "How much do you know about me?" Evelyn asked. Harvey spoke clearly and melodiously. "I know as much as I need to." Evelyn smiled slightly. It was a surprise that this man could be so gentle, considerate, and understanding. What was he doing? He was not acting like Harvey at all. Violin or flowers? Thank you very much. I like them very much. As for myself, you can know all. I want to tell you everything. I didn't tell you the truth because I wanted to protect Mark." Harvey was startled. He looked at her pretty face and wanted to say something, but he remained silent in the end. He held her hand and walked into the house. She was willing to tell him about herself because she trusted him. She knew that he might have investigated her, but she did not lose her temper. How good was her temperament? What could he give her in return for her trust? Can I tell her what's on my mind? He knew that she would not despise him and look down on him. Why couldn't he tell her? Was it because he cared too much, making it even more difficult for him to say to her? After the meal, Harvey asked Evelyn to try out the violin. Evelyn held the violin and said shyly, "It's been a long time since I played the violin. It's already hard to remember how to play." Harvey said, "Practice a few more times. The familiar feeling will be back soon." After Harvey finished speaking, he had her sit on the sofa. Evelyn blinked and said, "What are you doing?" Harvey said, "You'll find out soon." Episode 224, Things Turn Sour. The curtains in the room were drawn, and the dim light illuminated only the piano. Evelyn's heart was beating fast. Harvey sat there. When the first note fell, Evelyn covered her mouth. It was the song. When he said he would play for her, she had thought it was a joke. She didn't expect it to be true. After playing the piano for a bit, he suddenly started singing. His hypnotic voice sounded throughout the room. It was the first time Evelyn heard Harvey sing. Her heartbeat was fast, and Evelyn covered her mouth in surprise and joy. Not only did he play the song for her, he even sang it. She never knew Harvey could sing. He was sometimes cold, sometimes evil, high and mighty. She never thought he could sing a love song like this. Evelyn almost cried when she heard the slow lyrics. His figure was graceful and charming, and his voice was even more stunning. Evelyn thought that any woman who heard Harvey sing this song would fall in love. This bad man was too good at pleasing women. Harvey finished the song and walked up to Evelyn, looking down at her. He smiled and said, "How was my singing?" Evelyn swallowed nervously and said, "I didn't know you could sing." "I am Harvey," Harvey said. "I'm good at everything, so of course I know how to sing. You are the first person to hear me sing, though, since I became CEO of the Cage Group." He leaned over and said, "How was it? Are you transfixed?" This time, Evelyn did not avoid the question out of shyness. She nodded and softly said, "It was very nice." "Then close your eyes and give me a kiss to thank me," Harvey said quietly. Evelyn obediently closed her eyes and raised her head. Harvey held her neck and kissed her lips. After a long kiss, Evelyn looked at him in a daze. "Harvey, what day is it today? You gave me gifts and sang to me. Is there something wrong?" This version of Harvey was too kind and so gentle that it seemed really unusual. Evelyn couldn't help but think about it repeatedly. Harvey stiffened, thinking to himself that this woman was really sensitive. Harvey sat down and looked at her, trying to think of what he should say. After Mark sent him the challenge, he had thought a lot. No matter how he considered the matter, he felt that it was inappropriate for them to live together. The woman he liked was right beside him. He would never be able to endure them living together. Even if Mark had been by her side as her younger brother for a long time, the situation was now different. Evelyn had a stubborn personality. If he told her to separate from Mark, she would refuse. Therefore, he had decided not to be overbearing with her this time. He intended to use a gentle hand to guide Evelyn into obeying his requests. Harvey looked at Evelyn and pondered for a while. "It's actually like this. My company is now in need of a new talent and a design director, and I admire you very much. Due to this, I want to extend an offer to you to come work for us. The company has prepared an apartment for you near the office." Evelyn frowned when she heard that. "But if I win the competition, I can still enter the company, correct? I want to win the competition." "Isn't that a lot of trouble? Are you unwilling to come even when I invite you?" Evelyn frowned. Her ultimate goal was to enter his company due to it being the best in the business. She was very happy that Harvey had invited her and acknowledged her talent. But she didn't feel right about this offer. She was not someone to be bought, and this was quite sudden. Furthermore, she wanted to see how she stacked up through this competition. She did not think she would win the championship, but since she had worked hard for her dream, she had no reason to back down now. Evelyn shook her head and said, "I want to see how good I am. If I can win the championship and qualify to enter the cage group, I will be confident to design amazing fashions." "I appreciate your thoughts, Harvey, and the kind offer, but I cannot accept it." Harvey's knitted eyebrows accentuated his unhappy face. Oh, this stubborn, troublesome woman made him so angry. "If I can't make you understand," Harvey said. "Evelyn, I will be blunter as this is about you not living with Mark. I have an apartment for you, and you can stay there. If you want to, you can stay here. You are free to choose between the two options." Evelyn was stunned and only realized that he was trying to pull strings on her life again. It turned out that Harvey had this goal in mind. His offer was just an excuse. His goal was to prevent her from living with Mark. Why? Harvey lowered his face and said, "Because I am a man. It is no good to watch my woman live under the same roof as another man." "He is my brother," Evelyn blurted out. Harvey stared at her with a pair of cold eyes and asked, "Is that the case? Do you still think he is your younger brother? After he expressed his feelings for you and proved that they are not that of a brother, can you still treat him as an ordinary younger brother?" Evelyn clenched her fists. She had considered treating Mark like a man now, so Harvey's question made her speechless. After hesitating for a while, Evelyn said, "You're right. After Mark confessed to me, I started to treat him like a man, to respect him. But that is the limit. He will understand that it is impossible between us sooner or later. At that time, we will still be brother and sister. And now I cannot go out and live elsewhere just because things are tough." Sooner or later, she knew that she and Mark would be like siblings from regular families, living their own lives. This was understandable. But now, if she proposed to live by herself, what would Mark think? She could not do such a thing. "Evelyn, do you know what kind of a man he is? He is an animal under the same roof that would do anything to fulfill its purpose. Harvey saw that she was being stubborn, so he immediately pulled her over and pressed her under him. A pair of dark, cold eyes stared at her. Evelyn's brows tightly furrowed. Her body and mind felt a little uncomfortable looking at his cold face. What did he mean by that? Did she have to be on guard when she was with Mark? Even when she was almost naked with Mark in the bathroom, Mark had never done anything out of line to her. She would never doubt that Mark would harm her. Harvey, Mark is different from you. He wouldn't do such a thing to me, Evelyn said seriously to Harvey. I am a man. I know more about men. Men are all animals with base needs that must be met. Mark has feelings for you. How can you promise you won't have sex after drinking or when you aren't in control? Harvey continued to question her. He was furious. This woman didn't understand men at all. Did she think that the kid was so pure and virtuous? Who knew what he would do? Mark would never do anything that would harm me. Don't talk nonsense. Evelyn was furious and retorted angrily. Harvey looked at her with a dark expression and questioned her. Is it because he doesn't know how to do it? Or that even if he does, you will forgive him? Even if he does something overboard to you, you will still forgive him, right? After all, he is your brother. Evelyn slapped him in the face, causing his whole body to tremble. Harvey was stunned by the slap. Evelyn had already pushed him away. She got up, gritted her teeth, and lowered her head. Her face was filled with indescribable sadness. How much do you know about Mark and me? Don't belittle yourself and think you know everything. You are not qualified to say that about him, no matter who you are. You are right. I will forgive him for anything, but he will not hurt me. I have always known that. Evelyn turned and left. Episode 225, Mayor's Office. Evelyn's hands were empty. She had not taken the violin Harvey had given her. The sunny day had become gloomy, and it looked like it would rain. She did not stop, and continued walking out despite the weather conditions. Perhaps to others, she and Mark were really strange. They were not biological siblings, but they had always been together. Mark liked her and wanted to pursue her. She decided to respect him and treat him as a man, and they lived together. She knows it looks weird, but she didn't feel that it was wrong. In this world, no matter where she and Mark would go, they would always be each other's family. That would never change. She could not forget the past. The young man who had always been by her side, who had carried everything because of guilt and sorrow. Harvey didn't understand. Mark would never do anything to hurt her because no one wanted more for her than him. He carried too many things, but he always wanted to smile in front of her because he said he wanted to give her happiness. In the house, Harvey felt lost after that slap. He should have been furious. After all, he was Harvey. No one had ever dared to slap him other than that arrogant old woman. However, his heart felt as if needles were pricking it at that moment. It was due to Evelyn's sad face when she left. He thought he already knew Evelyn and Mark's past, but he didn't know everything. She said he knew nothing. Should he know something more? Mark's and her past still held some secrets. Thinking of this, Harvey suddenly thought of those documents. He hadn't looked at those papers. Maybe they were records of things he did not know. If he had read them, he would know what Evelyn meant. It started to rain. Evelyn had left her phone at Harvey's house. Since she had made plans with Luke and could not remember Luke's phone number, she had to take a taxi to the city government building. Hello, can you help me get over to the mayor's office? Evelyn stood at the front desk. She did not know if her sudden visit would cause Luke any trouble. She quickly said, "If he is busy, tell the secretary to wait for him to finish the business, and tell him that I'm waiting for him here. My name is Evelyn Petal." "Okay, please wait a moment." The receptionist picked up the phone and called up Luke's office. Evelyn pursed her lips and waited off to the side. When the receptionist called, she put a hand over the receiver to ask, "Is the mayor expecting you? Do you have an appointment?" "Miss Petal, do you have an appointment?" she asked again when Evelyn didn't immediately respond. "I'm sorry, I don't have an appointment." Evelyn wanted to say that she had an appointment, but when she thought about the invitation after work, it probably wouldn't count, so she had to say it. The receptionist nodded and said to the other end of the phone, "No. There are so many people who want to see the mayor. I don't think we can accommodate without an appointment." The person who answered the phone seemed very impatient. The receptionist was also a little unhappy. She was a messenger to begin with. Why did they have to be impatient with her? With a smile on her face, the receptionist held back her anger and said, "This lady asked me to pass on the message. If the mayor is busy, help her pass on the message when he is free. She will wait here." "Tell her the mayor is in a meeting and doesn't have time to see her. Ask her to go," the man replied and hung up. The receptionist frowned and put down the phone unhappily. She looked at Evelyn, who looked a little embarrassed, and kindly said, "Miss Petal, the mayor's assistant said that the mayor is having a meeting. They might not be able to see you. Why don't you come back first thing tomorrow, or give him a call if you know the mayor personally?" She didn't want to get into trouble. She didn't want to be complained about, and she didn't want to mess things up. Evelyn knew that if she had the phone in her hand, or remembered Luke's phone number, she would not have to wait here. It just so happened that they had an agreement, and she could not renege on the appointment. Evelyn gave an embarrassed smile and said, "In that case, I will wait here." Evelyn sat on the chair in the waiting area. There were still a few hours before 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Evelyn leaned on the sofa and thought about Harvey. About an hour later, Thomas passed by. When he saw Evelyn, he was stunned. He walked over to Evelyn, who was about to fall asleep, and asked, "Evelyn, why are you sitting here?" Evelyn quickly woke up from her sleep and looked at Thomas in front of her. She immediately recognized him and stood up. "Ah, it's you, Thomas." "Evelyn, are you here for the mayor? Why are you sitting here?" Thomas asked. "Yes, I came to see Luke. I didn't bring my phone with me. I made plans with him for dinner. I was afraid that he wouldn't be able to contact me, so I came here." Evelyn smiled innocently. Thomas narrowed his eyes and looked at the scene in front of him. "How long have you been waiting here?" "Not long, just a while. Luke was in a meeting, so I didn't want to disturb him. I will look for him after he finishes the meeting," Evelyn said hurriedly. Thomas didn't say much, but he already knew what to do. He brought her to Luke. When the receptionist saw this unfolding, she was dumbfounded. What kind of background did this lady have? Thomas personally escorted her up to the mayor's office. All the way to the office, Evelyn was still worried that Luke was in a meeting, but Thomas calmly told her to wait outside the door and went in himself. "Mayor, Evelyn is here. She's been waiting for a while," Thomas said with seriousness into Luke's ear. Luke immediately stood up when he heard Evelyn was there. "She's here. Did she wait for a while? Why didn't she come up?" "She didn't bring her phone with her. The people at reception didn't want to interrupt, so they told her to wait outside," Thomas replied. Luke said without thinking, "The work for today is over. I will leave the rest to you. Also tell the people below that Miss Petal is an important friend of mine. Be sure she is added to the approved visitors list in the future. If she comes, just let her in." After Luke finished speaking, he started to tidy up his clothes and walked out. Thomas still did not hold his tongue and joked, "Sir, you are irresponsible as always." Luke looked back with a smile in his eyes. "You're still as poisonous as always. Speaking of which, it's time for the personnel transfer again. Mayor, go ahead and do whatever you want. I will always be your shield." Thomas nodded and said respectfully. Luke raised his brows. He expected Evelyn to be in a very good mood because she had won the second round. When he opened the door and saw Evelyn standing in front of him, he got excited. "Evelyn, I'm sorry the staff were busy and made you wait down there. I've already ordered that it will not happen again next time you come," Luke said with a gentle smile. "Don't worry about it. This is the city hall. I don't dare come up here all the time," Evelyn said in a panic. She did not care about what Luke said. My phone was left somewhere else because of a situation. I couldn't call you, so I wanted to talk to you in person. I'm sorry if you're busy right now. I just came to tell you that I can kill time on my own. I'm not busy, Luke said. I have nothing to do today. So, let's go now. Episode 226, Puzzling Forgiveness. The more time Luke spent with Evelyn, the better. How could he waste his time on work when she came to find him? Is that so? Evelyn was a little stunned. She had already started to walk beside Luke. It was raining a little hard outside. Let's go to the coffee shop first, Luke suggested. Evelyn nodded and was about to walk out when Luke held an umbrella, and the two of them walked out. The rain was a little heavy, and Evelyn was far away from Luke. Luke calmly leaned most of the umbrella towards Evelyn so she didn't get drenched. She looked to the side and found that Luke's suit was already wet. She hurried to his side, grabbed his arm, and helplessly said, "You can ask me to lean in a little more. Why do you need to shower yourself in the rain?" There was a smile on his face as he said, "This is the true test of a gentleman." Evelyn looked up and murmured, "Why do you want to be a gentleman, Luke?" Even if he wasn't a gentleman, it was fine. She could still remember the times when he didn't used to have an umbrella during such summer rains. He would run to her under her umbrella, grimacing, and stand behind her to keep both of them out of the rain, and the two of them would walk as if they were joined together. Even though it was very strange, she was still very happy. Luke looked at her. There was such sadness in his brown eyes, and more complicated feelings that she could not understand. He sighed softly and said, "Because I don't want to see a girl's sad face anymore." She didn't know that in the years he'd been away from her, he saw her crying face on countless nights when he closed his eyes. He thought for a long time about her, himself and them together. "You are such a gentle girl," he thought, "but I am not worthy of such gentleness. I am scared to tell you about the first time I met you. I also did not treat you right back then. I am awkward and careless. I do not know how to treat a girl gently. I did not even say a soft word of thanks to you for appearing in my terrible life. You came to me gently, but I only left you with bad memories. From that moment forward, I was determined to change myself. I didn't want to be that useless punk anymore. If I could pass by you one day in the sea of people, and if you don't recognize me, I would know that I've changed. I want to be a mature gentleman, and I want to be gentle to you, even as a stranger. When I recognized you for the second time in New York City, I was calm on the surface, but you don't know what a mess I was within." "Luke, I think..." Evelyn opened her mouth and thought. The words she wanted to say stuck in her throat. Luke blinked his attractive brown eyes and approached her. "What?" Evelyn was breathing heavily. "Luke, you don't have to be such a gentleman," Evelyn thought to herself. "I know better than anyone else how kind and gentle you are. Even if you're still the same man who looked arrogant but was sensitive and shy inside, I still like you." He spoke very loudly, laughed impudently, and pretended to be cold. She liked everything about him. Lowering her head, Evelyn smiled and shook her head. "It's nothing. I feel that you, Luke, are really kind and very gentlemanly. You are the most compassionate and gentlest person I have ever met." But she couldn't say it. He'd know she'd recovered her memory and probably be in pain. If her existence became Luke's burden, they wouldn't even be able to have a meal together like this. So she really couldn't say anything. After sitting in the coffee shop for a while and then eating dinner, Luke took Evelyn home. At that moment, Evelyn did not know that Harvey had already seen her and Mark's last secret in his file. Harvey was sitting in his study, and in front of him was an open document. Harvey's eyes were as dark as that moonless night. He'd been sitting there for hours, still in a daze, and his shock was indescribable. The secrets regarding this pair were thoroughly analyzed in this document. It turned out that the real cause behind the death of Evelyn's parents was an accident, but it was the revenge of Mark's enemies. After that, the murderer was found by Mark and killed. When Harvey saw this, his mind was a mess. He couldn't make sense of all this. Did Evelyn know that her parents died because of Mark's family connections? Did Mark tell her? Evelyn would wonder if Mark killed the people responsible for killing her parents. It was so chaotic. It was just as Evelyn had said. He did not understand what was going on. He thought carefully about Evelyn's words and finally came to a bold conclusion. Evelyn knew that Mark's enemies had killed her parents, but she had forgiven him. That was why she said that Mark would not hurt her no matter what. She knew that Mark had killed that person to avenge her parents' death. His head began to hurt. Like Evelyn, he did not like rainy days. Time passed very quickly. It would be his birthday party in a few days, also the so-called matchmaking event. That old woman was very cautious. He still did not know who the woman they intended to match him with was. He would probably only know on that day. Harvey felt a headache coming on. He felt that this was the first wave of trouble that had to be resolved. He could not let go of Evelyn's well-being no matter what. He also did not know if he should talk to Evelyn. After all, this matter was not that easy to talk about. It was her grief. He didn't understand how she could forgive Mark if his enemies killed her parents. Mark probably tampered with her memory because of these things. In that case, Mark's behavior should be considered despicable. Why did she forgive him instead of blaming him? Now that she had recovered her memory, she still thought highly of him. Evelyn, I can't understand you, Harvey muttered as he picked up the phone Evelyn had left behind. It was raining heavily outside, but Harvey still stood up and walked out of the house with her phone. He drove until he was outside Mark's house. He had always been smart and calm enough, but he seemed to be muddle-headed at this moment. He realized later that Evelyn's phone was in his hand. Even if he called, it would be useless. If he called Mark, he wouldn't let him see Evelyn. The car slowly stopped outside the house. The lights were on inside the house. Harvey looked through the window and was stunned. Harvey felt a heavy weight on his shoulders as he pushed the thoughts of brother and sister away. He didn't seem to be able to see Mark and Evelyn as he had before, but he still wouldn't let go of her. He wanted to find out everything about Evelyn. He wanted to find out why Evelyn would forgive Mark. Was it because he had already killed the murderers of her parents? Or was it because he had accompanied her for so many years that her hatred had been diluted? Or had she not regained all her memories yet? Evelyn, I want to know how important he is to you, Harvey thought. Is it because of the past that he is more important than me? As Harvey was lost in his thoughts, a sports car drove past him and stopped in front of the house. Episode 227, Why Are You So Popular? The driver of the sports car that had stopped in front of the house opened the door and held up a black umbrella. He walked to the front passenger seat and opened the door. Harvey took a closer look and realized that it was Luke, the mayor. He was puzzled. Why is this Luke here? Before he could think more, the mystery had been solved. The person who got out of the passenger seat was undoubtedly Evelyn. Evelyn did not notice that Harvey sat watching her get out of the car with Luke. Evelyn scratched her hair in embarrassment. You said I would treat you, but you still paid. I'm so sorry.
It doesn't matter. It's good enough for us to sit together and talk. Besides, I told you that this is a test of my character. There is no way a gentleman would ask a woman to pay for anything,
Luke said with a smile. He saw that she was wearing thin clothes, and the rain was chilling her through. Although they were already at her house, Luke still gave her the umbrella and said, "Take it." Evelyn took the umbrella from his hand and blinked her eyes in confusion. Luke did not say anything. He took off his suit jacket and put it on Evelyn. Evelyn did not want to wear it. She quickly said, "There's no need for that, Luke. I've already arrived home. It is not cold inside, and you should wear it home."
"Be good and wear it," Luke said. "The wind and rain are still cold. Rain like this is no joke. The competition is next week, and you don't want to get sick."
At that moment, a car light suddenly shone on the two of them, blinding their eyes. Evelyn and Luke covered their eyes and squinted at the car. Who is this? Why are the headlights shining at them? Of course it was Harvey. He watched for a while in the car and was surprised that Evelyn and Luke were together. His face turned ugly as he sat stewing in his vehicle. He had just said that the first wave of trouble had yet to be resolved, and the second wave had risen already. He never knew Evelyn and the mayor knew each other, and from the look of it, they were very close. "Evelyn, why are you so popular?" he asked himself. Harvey was displeased and jealous. He opened the car door and walked toward Luke and Evelyn with a cold face. Evelyn saw who it was and was shocked. Her heart was beating fast. Harvey? Harvey also held a black umbrella and stood still. He did not look at Evelyn. His eyes fell on Luke's face, and he nodded slightly. Harvey said, "Mayor Bigman, I am really surprised to see you here." Luke was startled. He looked at Harvey, then at Evelyn. His heart felt like it was struck by lightning. The dots suddenly connected in his mind. The reason why Harvey had become a judge and invested so much was because of Evelyn. Luke was shocked, and his heart beat restlessly. He didn't expect Evelyn and Harvey to have such a close relationship. "It's raining so heavily. Why are you here?" Evelyn lowered her head and asked Harvey in a low voice. She still remembered the slap she gave him. Now that she thought about it, she felt guilty. Harvey said casually, "You left your phone at my house. I thought I would bring it to you, Evelyn." Evelyn looked up at Luke, her eyes flashing. She walked quietly to Harvey's side. Harvey felt uncomfortable looking at the coat on her shoulders. Harvey smiled, took the suit jacket off of Evelyn, handed it to Luke, and said, "Mayor Bigman is a gentleman, but you don't have to worry. If it is a little cold, you can wear my suit jacket." Luke looked into his dark eyes and then turned to look at Evelyn. His heart ached. He should have taken the suit and walked away. "It doesn't matter. Either of our suit jackets is the same. As long as Evelyn doesn't catch a cold, it doesn't matter which she wears," Luke replied. Harvey smiled. He suddenly pulled Evelyn into his arms and said, "I don't think what I mean is clear enough. I will say it again. This woman can only wear my suit jacket if she is cold. I will hold her in my arms. That's it. Take the jacket back, Mayor Bigman." Evelyn felt a little embarrassed being held so close by Harvey while she was still in front of Luke. She gently pushed him and said, "Harvey, what are you doing?" "I'm holding you and giving you warmth. Can't you see that?" Harvey lowered his head and said tyrannically. Evelyn struggled as she stuck her head out of his arms and looked at Luke awkwardly. "Luke, thank you for today. It's getting late. It would help if you left now. And thank you for loaning me your suit jacket." Luke felt a sharp pain in his heart. She had already said this, so how could he continue to pester her? Luke held the umbrella tightly and took the jacket. He smiled at Evelyn and said, "I'll be leaving, and we'll see you next time." Luke turned around and got into the car. He could still see that Harvey did not let go of Evelyn through the rearview mirror, and she did not struggle. "See you next time," he said to himself. Luke suddenly realized that neither the identity of a stranger nor the identity of a friend could satisfy him. Seeing her hug another man on a rainy night made him feel jealous. Everyone was probably selfish. They only asked for love in different ways. It was not that he did not want to ask for it. but he had always been passive, timid, and did not dare say it or act on it. Afraid she'd remember. Afraid she'd hate him. Luke closed his eyes and continued driving the car away from her. The more he drove, the more pain he felt inside. Evelyn, I can see that those people can get close to you, pursue you, and fight for you. And I can't do anything but watch. I feel really bad. It turns out that being an honorable man is such a burdensome thing. In fact, for you, I had already planned to remain silent, and I never regretted it. But if there comes a day when I can tell you what I want, that day I won't be passive any longer. I have started to love you, and I don't even remember when that happened. Maybe since the first time we met, and I watched the wind blow your long hair. But Evelyn, I missed the chance to confess to you. Should I bury this love forever for your happiness? Harvey, can you let go of me now? Evelyn was held in front of the house for a long time. Harvey did not let go of her until Luke's car was far away, and even then, Evelyn had to warn him. She could guess what Harvey was thinking. This was probably a declaration of sovereignty over her decisions. He had always been so overbearing, even though she was not displeased. She and Luke were just friends. What's your relationship with Luke? Harvey didn't let go of her and asked. Evelyn knew he would probably ask, but she was not angry at his question. Instead, she heaved a sigh of relief. That slap made her very regretful. When she was having dinner with Luke, she was thinking about it. Harvey was arrogant, and he had never been hit by a woman she would bet until she slapped him. She was afraid he would get angry, and she wondered what would happen to them. But now he was holding her, jealous that she was with another man. Episode 228, Apology. Evelyn could feel the jealousy brewing inside Harvey. She suppressed a smile and said, "He's just a friend. If he has some special relationship, why would he watch you hugging me without doing anything? What else does he want? Do you think he wants to fight me? Do you think I, Harvey, am afraid of him?" Harvey harumphed coldly. Evelyn felt helpless. Ugh, he was so childish at times. He's just a regular friend. When are you going to let go of me? Evelyn's nose was getting cold. Her face was slightly red, and she couldn't help but push him. No, I just want to hug you like this. Harvey did not let her go. Instead, he hugged her even tighter. The rainy night was cold, but Harvey's arms were warm. Evelyn had already forgotten that they were in front of her house, and Mark might appear at any time. The only sound she could hear in her world was the sound of Harvey and the raindrops beside her. There was also the sound of Harvey's heartbeat, which was so powerful that it shook her eardrums. Evelyn's breathing became rapid, and she blinked her eyes. Being hugged tightly by him made her heart melt. Evelyn opened her mouth and wanted to apologize for what happened in the afternoon, but before she could say anything, a deep voice sounded in her ear. "I'm sorry." Evelyn's eyes were wide open. She wanted to look up in surprise, but he kept her head pressed down. Harvey held her hair and gently stroked it. "Don't look up. Just listen to me." Evelyn's heart was beating very fast. She bit her lower lip and leaned against his chest. Harvey apologized to her, but she was the one who should have apologized. She had slapped him and ran away. "I don't know anything about you and Mark," Harvey said quietly. "I'm sorry I said that to you, because I wanted to make love to you." Evelyn's body trembled and her heart became uncomfortable. "No, it's not like that. You shouldn't blame yourself for not knowing anything," she thought. "I was the one who kept it a secret. It was me who didn't say anything because it involved Mark. That's why you don't understand. Don't apologize to me, Harvey. Don't. I'm the one who should say sorry." "Evelyn, I was not a part of your past, and I do not know everything."
But there is one thing I want you to know. In the future, you will have me in your world. I can let you and Mark live together, but your heart is mine. I will not allow you to be taken away from me."
"No!" Evelyn suddenly said. She hugged Harvey tightly and said firmly, "Harvey, you are different from Mark. He is my indispensable family. Harvey, you are my favorite." She tried to think of the right word. "You always come to my rescue when I'm in danger. You'll hold me when I'm sad and in pain. You've made me feel things I have never felt before. You gave me a feeling that makes my heart race, and you gave me the power to pursue my dreams. I love you the most."
"I know,"
Harvey said, bending over her and lifting her chin. He smiled and said,
"I know you like me the most."
Holding Evelyn's face, he affectionately kissed her lips. Harvey's smile was very gentle, so gentle that Evelyn did not know what to do. She lowered her head and said, "Don't you blame me for slapping you earlier?" Harvey raised his eyebrows and said,
"So, you are talking about my face being touched by you? If you like it, I don't mind you touching me a few more times."
Harvey reached out his hand to grab her hand and placed it on his face. Evelyn shyly withdrew her hand and said, "Don't mess around." The rain was getting lighter. Harvey put her phone in her hand, handed her the umbrella, and began to take off his suit jacket. Evelyn quickly stopped him when she saw him. "Don't, I'm not cold."
"Are you willing to wear Luke's clothes and not mine?"
Harvey raised his eyebrows. "Why are you so overbearing all the time?" Evelyn helplessly said. "I'm not cold."
"This is not about being overbearing. This is a man's possessive desire."
Harvey put the jacket on Evelyn. He looked at the house and said,
"Although I don't mind if you and your brother live together, if this kid dares to do anything to you, you can call me. Do you understand?"
"I understand." Evelyn nodded obediently, but she couldn't help but smile bitterly in her heart. Even if Mark did try to do something wrong, she couldn't tell Harvey about it. With Harvey's temper, he might kill Mark.
"All right, I'm leaving."
He did not say anything about finding Evelyn and Mark's secret. When he hugged her slim body, he thought that he would not force her to tell him if she wanted to hide it, because he wanted this woman to be happy. He always wanted to give her happiness. Everyone had a weakness. The matter about Mark was her weakness. He did not want to expose this scar. Therefore, Harvey chose to give in for the first time, enduring and being tolerant for this particular woman. Harvey stepped out of the umbrella and walked to his car. He was wearing a white shirt. Under the streetlights in the drizzle, his handsome back was visible through his drenched shirt. Evelyn's breathing became rapid. She tightly held the umbrella and suddenly shouted, "Harvey!" Harvey stopped and looked back at her. The rain gently soaked his black hair. It was as if his eyes were covered with a curtain of rain. His smile was incomparably moving.
"What? Have you started to miss me already?"
"See you tomorrow. I will wait for you where we said we would meet at 8 in the morning tomorrow," Evelyn said. Harvey was stunned for a moment. He looked at her blushing face, and his heart was beating rapidly. Yes, tomorrow was when they agreed to meet. In fact, he knew she wanted to celebrate his birthday. Her thoughts were too easy to guess. But he couldn't say no to this woman's clear eyes because, for the first time in so many years, there was someone who wanted to be with him on that lonely day that only belonged to him.
"All right, see you,"
he said to her with a smile. After Harvey drove away, Evelyn returned to the house. She stood in front of the door and hesitated for a while before pressing the password and entering. In the living room, Mark sat there with his back facing Evelyn. Evelyn swallowed and whispered, "Mark, have you eaten dinner yet?" Mark heard her voice and stood up to look back. He saw that she was wearing a man's suit coat. Mark knew that it was Harvey's. He stood there without moving. Evelyn felt nervous and didn't know what to do. It was awkward to talk about it at a time like this. Evelyn unconsciously took the jacket off and held them in her hands. Mark saw that she was a bit timid and blinked his eyes. Why should she be afraid of him? Although he already knew that she had gone out with Harvey, it was different now. He had said that he wanted to fight with Harvey, so he would have to endure this. He didn't want her to hate him. He didn't want her to be afraid of him. It wouldn't make the two of them close, it would just make the relationship grow distant. Mark sighed. He walked up to Evelyn and said, "Evelyn, are you afraid I will get angry? That's why you look scared." Evelyn blinked and looked up at him. "Mark, aren't you angry?" Was he really not angry that she was with Harvey? Episode 229, A Gloomy Day. Mark shook his head. "Of course I am. As a man, how can I not be angry when a woman I like dates another man?" Evelyn fell silent. She knew he'd be angry. "But this isn't my business. Evelyn, I am not your brother anymore, so I am not qualified to keep questioning you. Don't worry about me anymore." Mark bent down and looked at her. "Just treat me like a normal man." Evelyn looked at him and knew that her only hope was to treat him as a man. However, she felt a little sad. She was sad that her little brother, who loved to act willfully and like a little devil, was disappearing with the arrival of this man. He would eventually disappear without a trace one day, and she would miss that little devil very much. You can act flirty and willfully, she thought. You can also trick me like a little devil. Mark, can't you stay by my side as a younger brother like that? I don't want your maturity, and I don't want to see you as a man. I want you to be my brother forever. Evelyn could only shout these words in her heart, unable to say a word out loud. Mark had endured so much and done so much because he loved her. How could she say such things? These words would be a lethal poison to him. Evelyn tugged at the corner of her mouth and nodded. She said gently, "If you say so, I will treat you as an ordinary man. I am going to sleep now." "Okay," Mark smiled and rubbed her hair. She was the one who did this to him in the past. Evelyn was not used to it at all. It was a little awkward and also felt strange, but Evelyn did not brush his hand away and allowed him to rub her hair. She asked, "Aren't you going to sleep?" "I still have some matters to attend to in the study. Go to sleep." "You're still injured." "Don't worry. I'm getting better very quickly, and I won't be busy for too long. I'll go to sleep later, so don't worry about me." Evelyn nodded and turned to go upstairs. Mark stood there and waited for her to completely disappear into the bedroom before the smile on his face gradually disappeared. Actually, he wasn't as generous as he said he was. He could have been even more domineering to her if it was before. It was a pity. "Mark, you can no longer act like a spoiled child to her. She is your woman, not your sister," Mark muttered to himself, shaking his head. He went upstairs to his study and called Ray. When the call connected, Mark immediately switched to a different personality altogether. "How's the transition going in the group? Is it going smoothly?" "Everything went very smoothly," Ray said. "If anyone doesn't agree with you, you must remember to use an iron fist. You must suppress all thoughts of rebellion at this time in order to avoid future troubles." "I know, boss," Ray said. Mark said, "I'm not the boss anymore. Don't call me that anymore." "What?" "You will always be my boss. Let me call you that a few more times," Ray smiled. After the two of them chatted about the group, Ray said hesitantly, "Boss, Crystal's been acting weird. I think your departure has been a huge blow to her. Do you want to comfort her personally? I don't think my comforting will work." "I will not comfort her. Her dependence on me is her weakness. If she does not overcome it herself, she will be the one to suffer in the future. I do not have time to spare for women I do not care about." Mark's answer was cold. Ray couldn't help but laugh. "Apart from Evelyn, no one else can enter your heart." He took a deep breath and was silent for a few seconds before asking, "Boss, are you really happy like this?" "Why do you ask?" "I just want to confirm whether you are truly happy or not." Mark's eyes narrowed and flickered. Right now, Evelyn's heart was not with him at all. He had to snatch her away from Harvey. This battle was very difficult, and there was a possibility that he might suffer a crushing defeat. So was he happy? He didn't know. "Yes, I feel very happy. This is what I want," Mark said. If he could not grow old with her, he would not regret anything he had done for her, everything he had given up on. "That's good. Although it's very hypocritical to say that, I still wish you happiness," Ray said sincerely. "It's so soft of you," Mark said with a chuckle. He raised his eyebrows and hung up the phone. He hoped that Ray's blessing would come true soon. Evelyn woke up at 6 in the morning to the sound of rain. Evelyn put on a nice dress, applied makeup, and put the gift in her bag. She had arranged a date with Harvey today. It was the day before Harvey's birthday. Since she couldn't celebrate Harvey's birthday tomorrow, she planned to celebrate his birthday today and specially prepared a gift for him, hoping that he would like it. Evelyn walked downstairs and put down the note she had written for Mark. As soon as she walked out, she found that it was still raining. The drizzle was not very heavy, although it affected her original mood. It did not make it too bad. She had read the weather forecast. It would rain a little during the day, but it would not rain much at night. Besides, the flowers were still blooming, the air was filled with fragrance after the rain, and there would be fireflies. Evelyn felt that this was not bad. She held the umbrella and walked out. As she walked, Evelyn wondered whether Harvey had woken up or not. Would she be too early? However, Evelyn didn't know that Harvey had gone to bed earlier than she had thought. He had woken up at 5 in the morning and had put on a black suit. Harvey carefully wore a black tie and opened the door to find Zach already standing outside, holding the champagne roses his mother liked. "Sir," Zach nodded at him. Harvey nodded and took the lead in walking down the long corridor. When they reached the corner, Harvey met his grandmother. Harvey stopped, and she looked at him. Her face was expressionless as she said, "Tomorrow is a very important day. Can't you do this another day?" Harvey glanced at her coldly and said, "Today is the most important day. I don't care what day it is tomorrow." "You!" His grandmother opened her eyes wide in anger. Harvey had already ignored her and brushed past her. A person who didn't care about her son's death anniversary was not someone he wished to consider family. Is tomorrow an important day? For him, tomorrow was the day he hated the most. The black car drove towards the cemetery. It was drizzling along the way. Harvey did not say a word. He held the flowers Zach had brought for him. Zach couldn't help but worry internally. The CEO's mood was always like this during this day. Was he in a condition to go on a date with Miss Petal? Was it right to meet her on a day like this? Terry. Episode 230, A Special Day. Harvey got out of the car outside the cemetery and said to Zach, "I can go by myself." "Yes, sir. Here's the umbrella." Zach nodded and handed the umbrella to him. Harvey looked at the gloomy horizon covered in the rain and shook his head. "No need. I want to walk around without the umbrella." After saying that, Harvey walked into the cemetery and finally stopped in front of his parents' grave. He comes to this place only this one time each year, and the weather made no difference to that, because each year he only allowed himself one day of weakness. Only one day. "Dad, Mom, I'm here to see you." Harvey squatted down and placed the flowers in front of the grave. He looked at his parents' photos and said, "A lot of things have happened this year. It will be the first time that on this day, I'll take out time for someone else other than you. She is the most important person I have met this year. All the time between us is also the most important to me. Dad, Mom, I thought that I would never want a partner in my life. But I think that if someday I can heal the wounds in my heart, my cold heart can also be with someone who wants to love me. If she is like you guys, then only the person willing to give up everything may have the right to be with her. Dad, Mom, did you ever regret it?
regret meeting each other, falling in love. Because of your hard work, you lost your life in the end. Does love have the power that allows people to disregard everything? Is it worth giving up everything? I still don't understand. But I feel like that is a possibility when I see her.
If he was in love with Evelyn and found himself unable to free himself one day, he would walk away from everything to be with her. After staying in the rain for an hour, Harvey walked down the path alone and got into the car. "Sir, where are we going next?" Harvey pushed his wet hair, looked at his watch, and said,
"Let's go to the hotel to change. I want to see Evelyn."
"Sir, are you going to see Miss Petal today? Is that okay?" Zach looked at him in the rearview mirror and asked, "Why did she have to choose this day? It was the anniversary of Harvey's parents' death. She wanted to go on a date with him." It was a pity that Harvey didn't want others to know, so Zach couldn't go and find Evelyn to say anything. Harvey shook his head and said calmly,
"I'm fine. Don't think too much about it. I am not forcing myself to see her. I want to see her."
He did not know why, but he felt cold when he returned from the cemetery. He missed Evelyn's warm body, and it would be comforting to hug her. He always liked to be alone on this day, but today, at this very moment, he strongly wished to see Evelyn and hug her. Zach did not expect Harvey to say he wanted to see Evelyn. He said,
"The change of clothes is ready. There's still plenty of time."
Harvey nodded and went to the hotel to take a shower. When he went out again, he noticed that the rain had stopped. Harvey raised his eyes and muttered,
"Is it because my mood has changed? The rain stopped just like that."
At that moment, Evelyn put away her umbrella and arrived at the coffee shop that they had agreed on. Surrounded by green plants and flowers, Evelyn's figure was exceptionally beautiful and moving. The photographers who were passing by could not help but take pictures of her shaking out her umbrella. Evelyn bloomed like a flower after a rain, but today she only bloomed for Harvey. When Harvey arrived, he saw Evelyn from afar. The car slowly drove towards the coffee shop. The clouds slowly dispersed, and the sun shone through the clouds and onto Evelyn. Harvey was fascinated by the scene. It was as if she had stepped out of heaven and descended into this world. She had a gentle gaze and a beautiful face. She bloomed like a flower for him. Harvey's cold heart melted away bit by bit. He got out of the car and walked towards Evelyn until he was in front of her. Evelyn blushed when she saw Harvey's handsome face and blinked her eyes. "Here you are." Harvey didn't say anything. He reached out his hand and pulled her into his arms. Evelyn was startled, but did not push him away. Harvey did not let go of her for a long time. The waiter in the coffee shop looked at the handsome man and beautiful woman outside the door with interest, guessing at the story that might have happened between them. "Harvey, many people are watching," Evelyn reminded him in a low voice and embarrassed. Harvey hugged her even tighter and said indifferently,
"Then let them have a look. If they are envious, they can find someone to hug them. However, the person they will hug will not be as pretty as the one I am with."
Evelyn was amused by him and gave him a light slap. Harvey raised the corner of his lips. The cold energy dissipated, and a smile grew on his face. Harvey let go of Evelyn and held her hand. Her hand was very thin, but it seemed to have extraordinary power that kept transmitting into his heart, causing his sadness to completely dissipate. "Evelyn, it's good to have you by my side," he affirmed internally.
"Today, I will leave me in charge of you. Where are you taking me?"
Harvey held her hand and asked. Evelyn smiled and said, "First, we will go to the movies. We have watched it at your house, but let's go to the movie theater this time."
"Okay, I will listen to you."
Harvey nodded and followed Evelyn. They went to the movie, and Evelyn brought Harvey to eat at a local hot spot in the afternoon. The weather had completely improved, so they went to the aquarium. Around 5 in the afternoon, the two sat on the bus to a fair outside the city. Standing in a familiar place, Harvey looked sideways at Evelyn. This is for you. We have to walk from the beginning to the end of this fair. Before that, let's take a bath in the hot spring and change our clothes. I'll wait for you at the road at 7 o'clock in the evening." Harvey nodded and was led to the Hot Springs Hotel. After taking a good bath in the hot spring, Harvey put on the clothes Evelyn had prepared and walked out. As they walked out of the hotel, Harvey attracted everyone's attention, men and women alike. "He's so handsome. Is he a model? I've never seen him before. He's handsome. I wonder if he has anyone with him. I want to accompany him." Harvey ignored all the voices and continued walking toward the road. He saw Evelyn, wearing a red dress from afar, surrounded by a few men. Harvey raised his brows. This woman had a pure and pretty face, and these young men especially wanted to get close to her. After walking a few steps forward, Harvey heard one of the boys say to Evelyn, "Don't be shy. Accompany us for a walk and we'll have drinks later." Evelyn awkwardly wanted to reject, but a cold voice came from behind. "I will buy her as much as she wants to eat or drink. Furthermore, with your looks, won't she be better off if you stay away from her?" Episode 231, A Happy Birthday. Harvey's voice was cold and arrogant. How could they let someone stop them? They all turned around, wanting to see what kind of person had such arrogance. When they turned around and met Harvey's frosty eyes, they were so scared that their legs went soft. "It's better not to provoke this man. Let's go," one of them whispered to the leader. The man looked at Harvey and felt that something wasn't right. Thinking about it, he left bitterly. Evelyn looked at Harvey and laughed. This scene seems familiar. Harvey raised his eyebrows, walked in front of her, and grabbed her hand. "It's all your fault for attracting men the way you do." "I'm at fault? Really? Compared to you, my face is far inferior. I'm afraid that you would even provoke women to wax poetry or fight over you." "You are getting smarter with your mouth." Harvey narrowed his eyes and smiled. He looked down at her and said, "Is it because I kissed you a lot? I see you copied a little bit from me." "You are ridiculous." Evelyn blushed and glared at him. He had a handsome face and a sexy thin smile on his lips. Evelyn and Harvey walked through the crowded area of the fair. Many people wanted to strike up a conversation, but when they saw the hands of the two people clasped together and saw that they only looked at each other whenever they spoke, they automatically backed off. Along the way, Evelyn brought Harvey to eat and play. They had a great time. When they arrived at the mask stall, Harvey stopped to look for a mask. Evelyn looked around and found that people were selling so many wares on the other side. Evelyn unconsciously walked over and squatted down to hold a chain in a daze. The old woman who sold the chain looked at her, then at Harvey. Suddenly she asked, "Girl, I know you guys. How is it? Does he believe in the chain now?" Evelyn was stunned. She did not recognize this old woman, but she remembered having been to the fair with Harvey once. She knew that this was probably the person who gave Harvey the chain last time. Evelyn took out the money from her bag and handed it to her with a smile. "I'm sorry about the last time. He doesn't know what the chain is for. Even now he doesn't know." She didn't know if he was a genius or a fool. He was the most powerful man in New York City, but he didn't know what the chain he tied their fingers with that time meant. The old woman looked at her and handed her the chain, but she did not take the money. She said meaningfully, "He does not know, so you have to tell him. If you don't tell him, how will he ever know?" Evelyn was stunned to hear what the old woman said. Harvey was looking for her. He said, "I was waiting for you. Where did you go?" Evelyn hid the chain in her pocket and smiled. "I was right here. By the way, Harvey, I have a place I want to take you to." "Where are you taking me?" Evelyn walked along the path. Harvey followed her for a while and couldn't help but ask. There were fewer and fewer people there, and the air was filled with the scent of flowers. Harvey couldn't tell what it was exactly. The fragrance was pleasant, seeping into the night sky. The stars shone in the night sky, and fireflies danced in the grass. This type of scene was extremely moving. and Evelyn, leading him, made the scenery even more beautiful. Evelyn turned halfway around and said, "Don't worry, we'll be there very soon." Harvey was a bit anxious that he wanted to tell her to stop. He wanted to hold her hand and kiss her cheek. He wanted to kiss her lips under the night sky. But he didn't ask her to stop. He felt that the beauty of the scenery was enhanced by the presence of Evelyn. It was the most beautiful thing to hold such a stunning woman in his arms. After Evelyn finished speaking, she continued to walk forward. Harvey followed her until they arrived at an open space where fireflies filled the sky. Evelyn said, "It's about time." "Time for what?" A huge firework exploded in front of their eyes. Harvey looked over and saw that it was spreading. Fireflies flew out of the grass everywhere. Harvey looked at the fireworks and was stunned. Evelyn took out a box from her bag and handed it to Harvey. "Harvey, happy birthday." Harvey took the gift and curled his lips. "Can I open it?" "No, you can't. You'll see when you get back." Evelyn stopped him. Harvey held the gift box and rubbed it gently. It had been a long time since he had felt so happy when he received a birthday gift. It was so emotional that it made him want to cry. Other people also gave him gifts, but he felt that Evelyn's present was most precious. "Ah, there is another gift," Evelyn said, and took out the glowing fairy rod she had with a smile. "Use this to light up the sky." Harvey looked over at Evelyn's illuminated face and held her tightly in his arms. "Evelyn, thank you. Thank you so much. I haven't had such a birthday in a long time. It has been so long." Harvey hugged her tightly. Evelyn smiled and hugged him back. She patted his shoulder and said angrily, "I doubt that." Harvey just hugged her and didn't say anything. Evelyn didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt a warm feeling on her shoulder. It was as if Harvey was crying. However, when she thought about it, it wasn't very likely. How could Harvey be so moved that he would cry? Maybe the dew was too heavy. "Harvey, don't hug me anymore. We're gonna miss the fireworks." "Evelyn, always be by my side." "What?" "I want to hear it. If you don't say, I won't let you go. I'll miss the fireworks that you've carefully prepared for me." All right. I'll stay by your side. Always. All right?" Harvey didn't say anything. He wanted her warmth to seep into him and melt his cold heart. "Harvey!" It was the first time she had called his name in such a serious manner. At that moment, Evelyn felt that she was very close to Harvey. It was as if their hearts were aligned. Harvey let go of Evelyn with a gentle smile on his face. His eyes were brighter than the stars in the sky. Evelyn smiled at him. The two of them held hands and watched the fireworks together. It was very quiet there. The earth and the sky felt so peaceful. It seemed like there was no one on this earth, just Harvey and she and the beautiful fireworks. She didn't want this moment to end. After looking for a while, Evelyn touched the chain and bit her lips. The old woman who gave her the chain had said he would never understand unless she told him. She didn't want to force him. He had a lot of secrets and worries, and he wasn't as strong as he looked. She wanted to wait for him to open up. But the way she felt about him, she could suppress her feelings. Even if she hadn't confessed yet, she knew that she loved him. She wanted him to know about all her feelings, but she knew that this was not the right time. She didn't want to pressurize him. All she could do was wait for the perfect time. Episode 232, Tied Together. Evelyn stretched out her hand and took a deep breath. She took out the chain from her pocket and said to Harvey, "Harvey, give me your hand." Harvey looked at her and asked, "What is that?" She wrapped the chain around his finger. She tied the other end around her finger. Harvey looked at the chain and smiled. Is this the tradition of these events? He remembered what had happened in the woods that day and wanted to laugh. Evelyn's eyes blinked, and the sound of fireworks kept ringing in her ears. Evelyn gathered her courage and raised her finger connected to his. Actually, this is a new tradition. Harvey was startled. He looked at her with confusion. Harvey, it's rumored that the gods used this to get married to men and women in this world. Evelyn gently pulled his hand and said, if two people are tied with this chain, they will never be separated again. Harvey, I know you can't answer me yet, she thought, but I want you to know what I think. I tied this chain because I want you to know what feelings I have for you in my heart. Harvey looked at her clear eyes in a daze. Her finger was pulling his fingers as she tied the chain. He felt like his insides were being tugged, as if his fingers were connected to his heart. So that was the meaning of this chain. He thought about the time he had tied it to her fingers and how she did not want him to take it off. At that time, he was so ignorant and didn't understand the significance of the chain. Harvey grabbed her hand and held it tightly. He said, Evelyn, do you want this chain to be in place forever? Will you stay by my side that long? Up until now, I have never had such feelings about any other woman, but I want you to stay with me for the rest of your life. Evelyn smiled lightly and said, but that's not enough. You know I'm very greedy. I want more than that. I want you completely. Evelyn knew that Harvey had given her 1,000 times more than what he had to other women. She was grateful for everything he had brought into her life, but she was not satisfied. If I give a heart, then I want a heart too. Harvey reached out his hand and touched her cheek. Evelyn smiled gently, and her eyes seemed like stars in the night sky as she said, I will wait. I will wait until the day my greed is realized. Don't remove this chain until that day arrives. I believe it is possible, Harvey thought. You are already changing me little by little. I believe that one day my heart will melt. Harvey grabbed her hand tightly and leaned over to kiss her lips. His voice was low and charming. Idiot. Even if it were just a small possibility, I would still believe in it for you. Evelyn, how could I let you go? You are my infinite possibilities, he said to himself. Perhaps falling in love with you will change my whole world. He grabbed Evelyn's hand, and a warm feeling came from his palm. Her lips also became hot. She lowered her head and said, Have I said too much? Harvey pulled her hand closer and said, Because of these words, I have become restless. I don't want to see the fireworks anymore. Why? Evelyn raised her head in confusion. Her heart raced when she saw his hooded gaze. Harvey smiled evilly and said, Because I want to hear more incredible things in the bed. You pervert! Evelyn blushed and scolded him. Harvey smiled. He turned around and pulled her down the path. Fireworks sparkled behind the two of them, creating a beautiful scene. The chain on their hands tightly bound the two of them together. Harvey walked with her for a while and suddenly said, Evelyn, until now, I have never felt such emotions for anyone in my life. But now I want to thank God for bringing you to me. Thank you for coming. He did not turn around. Evelyn could not see his expression, but the warmth of his palm transmitted his feelings. Looking at his back, Evelyn said, Harvey, I also want to thank you. Thank you for coming into my world and meeting me. Apart from the first unpleasant meeting, I thought I had opened the gates of hell, but I have come to see that you are the prince I never dreamed of coming to find. He was aloof, cold, a little demonic, and a little evil, but his gentleness, the warmth of his hand, the sense of security in his arms, she adored it all. She liked all his good qualities, and she could accept all his bad. Harvey walked in front and slightly lowered his head. His lips curled into a gentle smile. Evelyn, you are a strange woman, he thought. You are the first person to thank me for coming into your world. Even my parents. I still don't know if they regret letting me come into the world. You are really stupid. You are stubborn. But I like your stubbornness and stupidity. The two of them held hands and returned to the hot spring hotel. The chain was not removed that night. Evelyn was wondering whether Mark would be fine at home all by himself or not. She thought of calling him, but on second thought decided not to. She wanted to be with Harvey tonight. Mark couldn't sleep at home because he knew she was with Harvey. That feeling was like 10,000 ants gnawing on his skin. He felt uncomfortable, but he knew that he would have to endure this pain until the day he snatched her heart away from Harvey.
You will come back. You will come back to me. You belong to me.
Mark tried his best to calm himself down and suppress his emotions. He did not want to think about the two of them together. Tonight, it was destined to be difficult for Mark to sleep. However, in this city, many people could not sleep. In the dark basement, the printer was spewing pages. Crystal looked at page after page of information about the woman in this crazy story of her boss. The corners of her mouth curled into a strange smile as her eyes glazed over. All the information she wanted was there. The next step will be to take him back. Boss, you belong here. You're not an ordinary person, and you won't live that life. As Crystal spoke, she sorted out the information and placed it all in the folder. She then turned around and walked out. Everything was ready. Evelyn, now please return my boss to me. Dark tides surged in the night sky, and the clouds in the distance pressed down, causing one to feel extremely uneasy. It was as if a storm was about to arrive. Episode 233, A Sweet Warning. Evelyn woke up early the next morning. She wanted to prepare breakfast for Harvey, but just as she got up, she was hugged by the person beside her. Harvey hugged her and said,
"Where do you think you're going? Why are you up so early?"
Evelyn was helpless. Today is your birthday. I want to make breakfast for you. Harvey kissed her on the cheek and whispered,
"I'm not interested in breakfast, but you taste delicious. Why don't you let me eat you?"
Don't mess around so early in the morning. Evelyn was so embarrassed that she grabbed the blanket and pushed him away. The two laughed together, and the morning felt sweet and beautiful. After they were done messing around, Harvey held her and said,
"It seems like it's raining outside. Seriously, I don't want to go back home."
Evelyn hit him. Stop messing around. Tonight is your birthday party. How can you miss it? Go back quickly or you will be scolded again. Harvey raised his eyebrows and lifted her chin to look at her.
"Why are you so generous? They have arranged for a matchmaking tonight. Why are you so eager to see me ask another woman?"
Evelyn pouted and glared at Harvey with her bright eyes. Who says I'm generous? I'm very petty. I'm warning you, even if there's a beautiful woman tonight, you're not allowed to look.
What about those that are as pretty as movie stars? I'm not allowed to look at them?
Harvey smiled and played with her nose. Evelyn slapped his hand away and pretended to be serious. You are not allowed to look.
What if she was as pretty as Audrey Hepburn?
Harvey did not want to let her go because her petulant act was really cute. He wanted her to lay in his arms and say such harsh words. Evelyn grabbed his hand and said, I don't want you to look at other women. Her straightforward and overbearing manner made Harvey smile warmly. He bent down and kissed her on the lips. He promised her solemnly,
"Okay, I won't even look at them no matter how beautiful they are. I will only look at you."
After messing with her for a while, Harvey reluctantly got up at Evelyn's urging. His phone had been ringing for a long time. Harvey arranged for Evelyn to be driven home. He walked to his car to go to the party. It was raining heavily. Evelyn looked at Harvey's figure and felt strange for some reason. After hesitating for a while, Evelyn suddenly rushed to Harvey's side in the rain. When Harvey saw her rushing over, he hurriedly took the umbrella from his driver and covered her head.
"Why are you running? You don't even have an umbrella."
Evelyn's hair was a little wet, and her face was soaked in the rain. Evelyn looked at him and said, No matter how late it is, call me when the party is over. I will wait for you. She knew that Harvey had always been a man of his word, and he would never change his promise to her. Still, for some unknown reason, Evelyn felt uneasy. She was scared. Perhaps she was worried because he was going to a matchmaking event tonight. Harvey saw her determined look. Although he did not know when the party would end, he still gently stroked her hair and said, "Okay, I will call you no matter what time, but it may be late. You better go home and sleep." Evelyn nodded obediently and turned around to go back to the car. The two cars drove on different roads and went their separate ways, as if they were driving into two different worlds. Evelyn kept looking back at Harvey's car until she could no longer see it. She then turned around and took out a bag from her pocket and opened it. There was half of the chain inside. Harvey had said that he would buy a chain that was tens of thousands of meters long to tie each other up. "Harvey, I believe in you," she said to herself, "and I'll wait for your call tonight." When Harvey returned to the family mansion, his grandmother was already dressed. She came out to wish him when she saw Harvey. Her face was still very cold. "There are a lot of things to do today. Why did you come here so late?" she said coldly. Harvey looked at her and said, "If you have anything to do, take care of it. Anyway, this is a spectacle you put on to welcome everyone, but you are just the evil puppet master." "This is not appropriate," his grandmother said. Harvey did not say anything because he did not want to argue with her. Dolores glanced at him and finally said, "Go to your room and get ready for the party." Harvey walked past her in silence with his head held high. Dolores turned her head to look at his back, and her eyes narrowed into slits. She whispered to the butler beside her, "Is it ready over there?" "Everything is ready, madam. I guarantee that Harvey will not notice anything amiss," the butler said in a low tone. She nodded and turned around to leave. When Harvey returned to his room, he did not see Zach. The person who came to deliver the clothes was not from his own staff. Harvey frowned and asked, "Why isn't Zach here at this time?" "Sir, Zach was sent back to the office. He should be back here in a while." The man left after he finished speaking. Harvey frowned as he thought, "Went back to the company? Why didn't he call me? Did something happen?" He called Zach without wasting any time. Zach picked it up and said, "Sir, I was just about to call you about this. There is a small problem with the finance department, and I need to straighten it out. I will take care of it here, but I may not make it back to the venue in time for the party." "The finance department? Is it serious?" "It's not serious. Don't worry. It's nothing I can't take care of," Zach said calmly. Harvey did not say much and said, "Then take care of it." After hanging up the phone, Harvey changed his clothes and went to where everyone was to gather. According to the old rules of the Cage family, they had to have dinner as a family before the large event. However, the atmosphere at the dining table did not look like a family gathering. In the past, Raquel used to sit amongst them. Now that she was gone, Harvey's uncle held a grudge against him and did not even smile. Dolores's face was still as stern as ever. Norman was still a child. Due to the tension in the room, he only lowered his head and ate silently. Harvey was disappointed. He looked out at the rain while drinking the red wine. He couldn't help but think that it wouldn't be like this if Evelyn was here. She would bring his food to him, smile at him, say happy birthday, then lift the lid and the smell would waft in his face. Thinking of this, the corner of Harvey's lips curled up. He was even less interested in the food in front of him. Putting down the fork, he wiped his mouth and said, "I'm full." Norman heard it and hurriedly said, "I'm done eating too." After saying that, Norman followed Harvey and walked upstairs. He sighed in relief and said to Harvey, "Cousin, the atmosphere is depressing. I am going to die. Why did Grandma suddenly hold a birthday party for you? Didn't she always ignore this day?" Harvey smiled coldly and said, "Why else? Of course they are trying so hard to find me a wife. They are dreaming. Do they really think I will agree with their choice?" Episode 234, Imprisoned. Norman shook his head and said, "CEO of the Cage Group is a really important position. You not only have to manage the company, but you also have to carry on the family line. Luckily, I am not saddled with that responsibility." Harvey raised his eyebrows at Norman's gloating speech.
You don't have to be so proud of yourself. With your father's personality, if you don't break free from his restraints in the future, I don't think you'll have a good life either."
Norman shrugged his shoulders and said,
"Then I must break free from his control. I saw my sister recently when I secretly went to see her. How is she? Is she well?"
Harvey asked, his hands in his pockets. Norman smiled. His eyes finally had the sparkle of a child his age.
"Yes, she is very happy. My old teacher treats her very well. If she doesn't want to do something, he doesn't force her to. She's just like any other normal person. She has suddenly become much more gentle after getting rid of the Cage family's expectations."
Harvey raised his brows and said,
"I think anyone will be happy to be separated from such an indifferent family."
Norman took a deep breath, took out a watch from his pocket, and gave it to Harvey.
"Although I know the real purpose of this birthday party is to get you engaged, cousin, I wish you a happy birthday. This is a gift I got for you."
Harvey raised his eyebrows and said,
"Thank you."
Norman raised his head proudly and said,
"Don't overlook it as just an ordinary watch. This watch can send signals in bad weather or desperate situations. I had it made special just for you. I will use it well,"
Harvey replied with a smile. The party was to start at 7 in the evening. It was almost 6:50 when guests started arriving one after another. Harvey stood on the second floor and looked down quietly, waiting for Zach to arrive. Somehow, he felt that he could not hold out much longer. As he was about to return to his room, his grandmother suddenly appeared and blocked his way. "The birthday party is about to start. Where are you going?" she asked in a serious tone. Harvey said coldly,
"Zach is not here yet. I need to make a phone call."
"Do you need someone to take care of you like a baby? He's simply an assistant. It should not be a problem if he isn't here. Don't tell me the CEO of the Cage Group can't do anything without assistance," Dolores mocked him. Harvey stared coldly at his grandmother and pursed his lips. In the end, he gave up and did not return to his room to make a phone call. He wished this awful birthday party would come to an end soon. It was probably because it was his first time hosting such a grand birthday party. There were a lot of guests. Of course, there were also many young women among the guests. After Harvey exchanged greetings with the people, his grandmother brought a woman to his side and said, "Harvey, this is the daughter of the Channing family, Alyssa Channing. She just came back from overseas, and this is her first time attending one of our parties. You can dance with Miss Channing for the first dance later." Alyssa Channing smiled and said, "Hello, Mr. Cage." Harvey looked at her face. On the surface, he was unmoved, but in his heart, he was startled. For some reason, this woman was quite similar to Evelyn. Was it a coincidence? Or was it planned? Harvey looked at Alyssa Channing and guessed that this was probably the old woman's choice. She was despicable. Did she think he would treat her differently because she looked like Evelyn? He had promised Evelyn that he would not look at other women. Though this woman had uncanny similarities to Evelyn, he would not look at her again. No matter how similar she looked, she was not Evelyn. Harvey curled his lower lip and said to Dolores,
"We can dance, but it won't be good for the young ladies if I only dance with Miss Channing. Why don't we all dance the first dance together? It will be fair to everyone."
Dolores obviously did not want this, but Alyssa Channing smiled and stepped aside before she could say anything more. Alyssa said, "Mr. Cage's suggestion is very admirable. Let's all dance as he suggested. After all, it is his happy occasion." Harvey looked at her and said coldly without any emotion,
"Well then, I will go and entertain the other guests."
After saying that, Harvey turned around and left. Dolores stomped her walking stick angrily and said hatefully, "This is outrageous!" Alyssa Channing stood at the side and smiled shrewdly. "Grandmother, there is no need to sulk now. It will be troublesome if Harvey knows that we are lying to him now. We have to grin and bear it for the time being. As long as we announce the marriage tonight, everything else will be fine." Dolores nodded and said, "Alyssa, you're the only one who understands. Thank you for being so patient." "It's fine, Grandma." Alyssa Channing smiled obediently, but her heart wasn't in peace. Alyssa Channing squinted her eyes as she looked at Harvey's back.
"Harvey, you will be mine after tonight," she said to herself.
Zach finished his work in the company at around 5:30 in the evening. It was already very late when he looked at his watch. He was anxious to leave the company and rush to the party. Just as he walked to the door, a driver from Cage Mansion came up to them and said, "Mr. Givens, are you done? The CEO asked me to pick you up. Please follow me to the car." Zach was stunned. He nodded and followed him because the man was the Cage family's driver. Although Zach was a little hesitant, he did not know why this driver appeared just when he was about to leave. But he did not think much about it and got in the car. After driving for a while, Zach realized that the route was not in the party's direction. He could not help but frown. "Why are we going this way? This is not the way to the party." The driver nodded. "Yes, but CEO Cage left his phone at his home. He said he was afraid a lady would call him, so he asked you to bring it with him." Zach narrowed his eyes and became a little suspicious. He felt that Harvey was not someone who would misplace such a thing, so he secretly called Harvey. The phone rang, but no one answered. Zach frowned. Could it be true that he had left his phone at his house? At that moment, Harvey was stopped by Mrs. Cage, so he could not pick up the phone. When Zach arrived at the home, he hurried to Harvey's room to find the phone. After he went in, he found that there was no trace of his phone at all. Zach's heart sank. He knew that he had fallen into a trap. When he turned around, the door was already locked. Zach angrily knocked on the door. "Open the door! Why did you lock me in here?" "Mr. Givens, stay inside and rest. You don't have to attend today's party. We will let you out tomorrow morning." Zach cursed silently, as he had felt something was wrong, but now he was locked in, unable to help Harvey. What kind of conspiracy was this? Zach was resourceful after all. He took out his phone and called Harvey again, but the call was not received. Zach knew that the phone was probably not in Harvey's hand. Zach had no choice but to call Norman. Unfortunately, Dolores had already prepared everything beforehand and thought of everything to ensure her plan was successful. Zach paced anxiously at the door, trying to negotiate with the people outside. "I won't go to the party. Please unlock this door. This is the old lady's order. I'm sorry, but we can't disobey her." Episode 235, The Conspiracy Begins. Zach racked his brain to devise an escape strategy. He thought of something and said to the guards on the other side of the door, "In that case, can you prepare dinner for me? I've been busy all day and I'm a little hungry." "Dinner will be prepared for you. Please wait a moment." "Please hurry up, I'm really hungry," Zach replied. He did not waste any more time. He could only leave while they were away to bring the food. Zach sat down and thought about what kind of plan this was. The birthday party and matchmaking were the main pieces he knew of. Harvey had clearly agreed to this party, so why did they lock me up? Zach suddenly remembered of Dolores's method to force Raquel. Announce the engagement to the public and put Raquel under house arrest. Could it be that she was using the same trick? Zach suddenly stood up and said, "This is not a matchmaking, but an engagement. One of the women who went to the party must be Harvey's chosen bride. Damn it! Why hadn't he thought about it earlier? Raquel was able to leave the family because of Harvey's help. How could Dolores not be angry? How could she be silent? It was all an act. Her silence was for tonight." After realizing this, Zach became anxious. It would be trouble if Harvey were forced into an engagement. The Cage family had known the hypnotist, Dion Knight, for a long time. He had helped the family in certain matters. If Dolores had invited Dion, it would be trouble. If Harvey was without any protection, even if he had learned anti-hypnosis, he would not be able to defeat Dion. Zach did not dare to think what would happen if Harvey were hypnotized and he announced his engagement. He would not be able to go back on his word. It was Harvey's support that allowed him to be with Raquel. Raquel made him understand that only by being with the person he loved the most could one obtain happiness in this world. Although he did not know whether Harvey and Evelyn would be happy together, he knew one thing, that Harvey always looked for Evelyn during his most lonely days. He had to get out of here. He had to find Harvey. No, he had to find Evelyn. Zach thought for a moment and looked around. This place had been cleaned up very well. There was nothing here that could hurt him or anyone else. Zach looked at the table, and after thinking for a while, he suddenly jumped up in the air and came down hard on the piece of furniture. The people outside hurriedly asked, "What happened, Mr. Gibbons?" Zach didn't say anything. He didn't move at all and kept his breathing shallow. The guards outside looked at each other, and one of them asked loudly, "Mr. Gibbons, what happened? Are you okay?" Zach still didn't answer. One said softly, "Did something happen and he passed out? The sound was too loud and it sounded strange. Why don't we go in and take a look?" "No, the butler told us to stand guard. What if he tries to escape once we open the door?" another person said. The third person was silent and said, "But we can't let anything happen to him no matter what. CEO Cage is not someone to be trifled with. If anything happens to this guy, who knows what he will do? Come on, the three of us will make a joint effort and he won't be able to get out." After discussing for a while, the three of them made a decision. The door was quietly opened, and they didn't see anything inside. Zach was nowhere in sight as they opened the door a crack more. "It's a trick! Quickly, close the door!" One of the sharp-eyed men saw Zach on the floor and shouted. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Zach leapt at them, pulling them apart and then yanking them backward. Zach kicked the person in front of him away and ran out quickly. When he was about 10 feet away, the men finally reacted. One of them quickly picked up the radio at his waist and said loudly, "Zach ran away! Stop him!" With this order, everyone immediately took action. There were also many bodyguards in the house, and it was very difficult for Zach to escape. However, he still managed to get out of Harvey's house. As the assistant of the Cage group, he could never allow himself to fail. Zach got into his car and drove away. He can't let this engagement party go on without interruption. Harvey didn't know that danger was awaiting him. He took a sip of wine. He was annoyed by such a boring birthday party. He was thinking about going back and calling Evelyn. He did not know what she would say, what kind of expression she would have, and whether she would be jealous if he told her that he had met a woman who looked very similar to her. Soon, the dancing began. Harvey did what he promised and started the first dance. When Alyssa held his hand, she smiled at him and said, "Harvey, I didn't have time to say anything before. Now let me wish you a happy birthday." Harvey held her hand, but did not appreciate her birthday platitude. "Thank you, Miss Channing. We are not familiar with each other. Please don't call me by my first name." He only wanted Evelyn to call him by his first name. Alyssa did not feel disheartened by his rebuke. She still smiled and said, "We will be very familiar with each other soon." Yes, very soon, she thought to herself. Harvey frowned, not understanding what she was saying. Right now, he just hated her face, which looked a bit like Evelyn's. She was like Evelyn, but she gave him a completely different feeling. After the dance ended, Harvey no longer had any interest in staying with Alyssa. He shook her off and took another glass of wine as he went to talk to other guests. He felt that entertaining guests was better than being with Alyssa. Zach had not arrived yet. Harvey looked at his watch a few times and was worried that something might have happened to him on the way. Unfortunately, he did not have his phone, so he could not call him. For some reason, the drink in his hand was a little intoxicating. He had only drank a few glasses before he started feeling dizzy. Harvey felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what it was. Alyssa's figure disappeared from the party and returned to the room and changed into a red dress. The makeup artist retouched her hair and said, "Miss Channing, it's done." Alyssa was wearing the same dress Evelyn had worn the day before. Alyssa walked out of the room, and Dolores looked at her and nodded her head in satisfaction. "It really is somewhat similar, but that wild girl is indeed incomparable to you, my dear." "Thank you for your praise, Grandma. Are you ready?" "Everything is ready. There won't be any problems." Dolores supported herself on the walking stick with both hands. "Well, I will go then." Alyssa nodded at Dolores and turned to leave. The conspiracy had officially begun. As Alyssa walked closer to the party, the lights dimmed. Episode 236. It's a Trap. Harvey saw that the dance floor was swaying. After a time, Harvey felt a little hot and changed to a slightly lighter cocktail in a remote corner. A figure appeared on the dance floor, startling Harvey. That figure, that red dress.
Evelyn.
Harvey blinked his eyes and put down the glass in his hand. At first, he thought he saw things, but the figure did exist. She walked across the dance floor and towards the exit of the dance hall. Harvey unconsciously started chasing after her. How could it be Evelyn? How could she be here? If she had come, she would have called him. She might have called him. He did not have his phone with him. Harvey's heart was racing. He sped up his pace and chased after her as he thought. Could it be that Zach hadn't come for so long because he wanted to bring Evelyn here to give me a surprise? If that was the case, tonight was destined not to be boring. When Harvey chased after her, he saw Evelyn in red enter a room.
Evelyn?
Harvey called, but the figure had already entered the room. Harvey frowned, and his head hurt for some reason, but he still chased after her. He opened the door, and a fragrant smell came. The room was very dark. Harvey walked in and looked around.
Evelyn, where are you?
Suddenly, someone snapped his fingers. The light turned on, and there was a figure on the sofa. Harvey walked over. The person had their back to him. Harvey felt strange. If it was Evelyn, why did she not say anything when he came in? But he also thought that there was almost no one who could hurt him in this world. He was not afraid of being plotted against. Harvey walked over. The person on the sofa was covered with a red cloth. Harvey put his hand on her shoulder with a cold face.
Who are you?
The moment Harvey's hand touched the person on the sofa suddenly lifted the red cloth. The fragrance spread in the air again. Harvey felt that the fragrance was very familiar, and his vision turned red. In front of him, the person's face was finally revealed. Sure enough, it wasn't Evelyn. But what alarmed Harvey was that he knew this person.
It's you, CEO Cage. Go to sleep,
the man said. Harvey quickly tried to close his eyes. This person in front of Harvey was extremely accomplished and well known in the hypnotic world. If he was not careful, he would fall for it. However, he already had a bad feeling. The old woman had been plotting for a long time. The reason why he had a headache was probably that he had been drugged. Sure enough, before he could close his eyes, that man's hand had already moved in front of his eyes. Harvey felt that he couldn't close his eyes no matter how hard he tried. The man smiled and put a pocket watch in front of him.
Look here. From now on, I will be in charge of your actions. You have to listen to me.
Zach broke through Harvey's and went straight to Evelyn and Mark's house. There were a lot of people chasing after him. The car sped along the way, and they were all left behind by Zach. The assistant of the Cage group shouldn't be underestimated. When Zach arrived at Evelyn and Mark's house, there were no more cars following him. He anxiously rang the doorbell in front of the house. Evelyn saw that when she appeared at the door that Zach looked troubled. Because she had left Mark earlier, Evelyn prepared a big meal at home to make it up to him. She was still holding a spoon in her hand. Evelyn was stunned when she saw Zach outside and quickly opened the door. As soon as the door opened, Zach hurried into the house. Evelyn was shocked and she asked, Zach, why are you here? Shouldn't you be at the birthday party? Zach saw her and did not have time to explain anything. He said seriously, Miss Petal, there's no time to explain. Please, come with me now. I will explain to you on the way. Evelyn was about to go with Zach when Mark suddenly appeared and held onto her hand. Mark looked at Zach coldly and said,
"What do you mean by this? This is my home. Do you not need permission to come and take people away with no explanation?"
Permission? In this city, Harvey Cage didn't need to ask for any permission to see anyone. Zach glanced at Mark. He wanted to argue with Mark, but now was not the time. His eyes fell on Evelyn, who looked confused and helpless. Zach took a deep breath and said, "Miss Petal, my boss is in trouble and needs you very much." Evelyn froze when she heard this. She looked at Zach nervously. What happened to Harvey?
"It's not just a birthday party and a matchmaking effort. It's a trap. They probably want to force him to get engaged to the woman they chose,"
Zach said. Evelyn's heart sank. This morning she had a bad feeling that something terrible would happen. Harvey touched her cheek in the morning and said he would call her. It was not that long ago, but now, when Zach said he might be forced to marry someone else, Evelyn suddenly panicked. Would he have to marry for the sake of his family honor? No matter how much she liked him, she wouldn't be able to get close to him. No, she can't. I want to go. Where's the birthday party being held? I want to. Evelyn was so flustered that she unconsciously walked toward Zach.
"Don't go."
Mark grabbed her hand and held her tightly. Mark looked at her and reluctantly changed expressions.
"It's useless to go. You and he both know that he can't give you what you want. Why do you still want to go? Stay with me. Evelyn, you know we are the ones who will be together always."
Evelyn's heart was stung by his sad eyes. She wanted to shake his hand off when he held her. She wanted to tell him that they two would be together for life, but that was because there was a family bond between them that could not be severed. She knew how deeply he felt about her, and she knew that there was no possible future with that man. But perhaps this was love. Moths were willing to go to the fire, even knowingly they might turn to dust. They were willing, even if there was no way out. Mark, I want to be gentle to you, she thought. It would help if you weren't hurt. I want to be careful and protect you from all those good things you have done for me. But I realize that no matter what I do, I will still hurt you in the end, no matter what I say. Mark, I am sorry. Evelyn turned around and hugged him. She said gently, "Thank you for being with me for so long. I still want to be with you in the future. Harvey is different from you. I know you, and I will never be separated because we are family. But I want to be with Harvey now. Even if he disappears from my side one day in the future, I will still grab him with all my strength. Mark, I am in love with him." After Evelyn finished speaking, she turned around and followed Zach. Episode 237, Towards Victory. Mark's heart began to hurt. It started with a slight itch, and gradually it started to pound his heart and soul. He watched her get into Zach's car and go away to the man named Harvey. Mark slowly slid down and sat on the ground. He lowered his head and tried to stop the sadness from taking over.
"I lost again. But I will not give up." "Evelyn," he thought, "I don't want to give up. Even if you say that he is your love and that I am family, I will try my best to change everything. You have to fall in love with me. And I still think I met you because I was destined to be in love with you. You held my hand in the sea of people. We weren't family at that time, but you held my hand. Evelyn, I'm in love with you. And you should be in love with me too."
Mark was sitting alone in front of the house. Evelyn felt guilty for hurting Mark. She wanted to turn back to look, but she didn't dare to. She was also very worried about Harvey's situation. "Zach, what is this all about?" Evelyn asked as she tilted her head to look at Zach sitting in the driver's seat.
Zach said, "I'm not sure. I was sent away from the party today. When I was rushing back to the venue, the staff at the Cage Mansion imprisoned me. They said they would let me out after the party ended. The party is in a mansion away from the city, so I thought it must be a conspiracy. Under the cover of simply matchmaking,
They probably will announce an engagement. But with Harvey's personality, how could he possibly let them do whatever they want? He must have thought of something, Evelyn blinked. He was CEO of the Cage Group, a business genius. Would he be at their mercy?
This is the problem. Mrs. Cage is not stupid. If she really can't control the situation and Harvey, it will make the situation worse. She might be at a disadvantage. The old woman would not take that risk. So I am afraid that they have created a plan to control my boss.
Evelyn bit her lip and thought about how her memory was tampered and controlled by Tildy. Hypnosis. Evelyn had already guessed it. She had personally experienced such a thing, so she knew what a true hypnotist was capable of. When Evelyn mentioned hypnosis, Zach thought of one person and immediately said, "It is a possibility. A while ago, Mr. Cage and I contacted such a hypnotic master, Dion Knight. Let's just hope that Mr. Cage was able to find him in time to uncover the plot." Evelyn became anxious when she heard that. If he were hypnotized and said something, it would stand true, even if he tried to refute it later. "Zach, let's hurry up. I'm worried," Evelyn said, rubbing her hands nervously. Zach also felt that now was not the time to dawdle. He stepped on the gas pedal and went straight to the manor. At that moment, in a room in the manor, Harvey was completely hypnotized and being brainwashed. This big shot wasn't easy to hypnotize. Dion Knight worked very hard, but fortunately, the result didn't disappoint him. After an hour and a half, when everyone started looking for the party's main guest, Harvey's hypnosis was complete. Wiping off his sweat, Dion looked at Alyssa, who stood nearby watching the show, and said, "You seem to be very interested in this." Alyssa smiled and walked in front of Harvey. She leaned over and kissed Harvey's face. Alyssa's eyes were filled with tears, and she could not help but mutter, "Who said that I am interested in hypnosis? I care about my fiancé." Dion turned to her and said, "That's right. He's your fiancé now." After Dion finished speaking, he snapped his fingers. Harvey turned around and looked at Alyssa. Harvey smiled and called her, "Alyssa." Alyssa blushed when she heard Harvey calling her. This perfect face, the eyes that all the women in New York City wanted to gaze upon them, now belonged to her. Alyssa gently held his face and said tenderly, "Harvey, that's right. I am Alyssa, your soon-to-be wife, Alyssa." Dion looked at her intoxicated expression and said with a wicked smile, "Miss Channing, don't immerse yourself in it. Just finish what you have to do. The effect of hypnosis will only last one night." Alyssa heard his voice and coldly raised her head. Her face had already changed into a cold expression as she said to him, "I know that. I do not need you to remind me of anything. You can leave now." "Yes, then I will take my leave, Miss Channing. I wish you a successful night." Dion gave a slight head bob, turned around, and stuffed a lollipop into his mouth as he clicked his tongue. This Alyssa was really into acting. What a wife. If she didn't have that face that looked like Evelyn, Harvey wouldn't have been hypnotized. Dion had only mixed the faces of Alyssa and Evelyn while interfering with his thoughts. Now Harvey only thought of this woman called Alyssa as Evelyn. Speaking of which, Harvey had opened his heart to a woman. That little woman called Evelyn was not to be underestimated. Dion had already walked out, and Dolores and the butler were outside. Dion nodded in approval to the older woman and said, "Mrs. Cage, he is hypnotized." "Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Dion. Follow the butler to get your reward." "Thank you very much for your consideration in this matter." Dion nodded and followed the butler to the room at the end. He thought he had to go and lay low for a while, otherwise he would be killed by Harvey when he became aware of the actions taken here tonight. If it were not because the pay this time was high and he needed money, he would not have accepted this job, no matter the threat. He felt that there would be endless troubles in the future. Alyssa walked from the other room, carefully closed the door, went to Dolores and said, "Grandma, it's done. I just told him that the engagement ceremony was about to begin. He has no objections." Dolores's cold face revealed a bit of relief as she nodded and said, "That's good. Alyssa, you must work hard tonight. Your status as the Cage family's new matriarch will be confirmed if you have a child, and Harvey must marry you." Alyssa blushed, but still nodded and said, "Grandma, don't worry. I will get it done." She had been enduring patiently and looking forward to it. It wasn't a small feat to become the granddaughter-in-law of the Cage family. How could she fail at this moment? She would try to have the baby, and even if Harvey didn't like it, he would have to marry her. Dolores stuffed the ring into her hand and gave her a few more reminders before turning around to prepare. At that moment, all the major media outlets were already in position. Tonight was a live broadcast. If Harvey dared to betray them, he would be trading the position of the CEO of the Cage Group for failure in this regard. The corner of Dolores's lips slightly raised. She seemed to sense victory. Everything would go according to her plan. Alyssa took a deep breath outside the door and opened the door again. Harvey had already changed into a black tuxedo. He turned from the mirror and asked, "Alyssa, what do you think?" Episode 238, Rescue Harvey. Alyssa's heart almost jumped out of her chest as she nodded and said, "Harvey, you look very handsome tonight." Harvey walked in front of her and took the ring from her hand. "What are you busy with? Go and dress as you are the main attraction of tonight." "Okay, I will. Keep the ring," Alyssa said. She felt like her heart was under a lot of pressure. She did not want to stay any longer. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to control herself around Harvey. She wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. Inside the house, some men in black appeared one after another. The media had already prepared for a live broadcast. At that moment, a car was speeding along the road toward their location. Evelyn clenched her fists tightly and kept breathing to calm herself. They tried to contact Harvey along the way, but they couldn't. Zach drove the car and said, "I got hold of someone who was already near the manor. She just called and said that the guards there have started to tighten the security. I think it's about to start. She said she acquired the maid uniform. Raquel and I will go and attract everyone's attention. Miss Petal, you will have to sneak in. Harvey will be in your care." "I'm afraid I can't do it," Evelyn said nervously. "What if I mess it up?" "You are the only one who can do it," Zach said firmly. He looked at her and said, "You are the only one who's been able to move the man's cold heart. Don't you think you are the only one who can save him now?" Evelyn bit her lips and lowered her head. She was still a bit scared. Zach looked at the road ahead that was already getting harder to navigate due to the fog. He said gently, "Do you know why Harvey doesn't hold a birthday party each year?" Evelyn blinked and shook her head. "Harvey didn't say anything specific, so I didn't ask." Zach said, "His parents passed away many years ago, the day before his birthday." Evelyn was stunned for a moment and then covered her mouth. "Yesterday was the anniversary?" Zach nodded and said, "Yes, yesterday was the anniversary of his parents' death. For many years, he spent the whole day alone in the cemetery. Then on his birthday, he seemed like he would die and fall into complete darkness. He was with you yesterday, and I saw him this morning. He was normal and smiling. So, Evelyn, you are special." Evelyn covered her mouth with trembling hands, and tears rolled down her cheeks. "I didn't know about these things," Evelyn muttered, blaming herself. Zach held the steering wheel and said with a gloomy face, "It's okay. He deliberately did not tell you about it. Those people are hateful. They all know about this day, but they insist on organizing this party. I will never let them have their way. I will never forgive them." Evelyn was startled. She suddenly remembered that it was Harvey's grandmother who had arranged all this. A heart-wrenching pain instantly rushed up to her. Evelyn grabbed her chest tightly. Why would someone who was family want to cause Harvey so much pain? Before she met him, the Harvey that Evelyn knew of was a proud son of a prominent family. He lived a luxurious life with beautiful women and held stunning parties. He didn't have to want for anything, and he appeared happy. She had always thought of him as the happiest person in the world, the kind of person with a lifetime of special love. But after she got to know him little by little, she had discovered that he kept hidden under a hard, powerful exterior a soft heart. She had come to understand that being rich and famous in this world could not make a man live without worry. How could one determine if a person was as relaxed and happy as he appeared to be? Gritting her teeth, Evelyn lowered her head and breathed hard, not wanting her tears to fall again. He did not want Evelyn to know anything because he thought she would pity him. He was the proud Harvey, and he did not need anyone's pity. If no one else in the world understood him, she had to be the one who did. If even his family abandoned him, then she would be the one to hold him tight and not let go. "Harvey, wait for me," she said to herself. "I'm coming for you." "Zach, I will get Harvey back from those people," Evelyn said firmly, holding her hands. Zach looked at the foggy road and said in a deep voice, "Please, Miss Petal." "I'll help you," he thought. "Even if I have to use all my strength, I'll help you get to him. So please drag him out of that great conspiracy. Please let him have true happiness." At that moment, the atmosphere in the manor gradually changed. Dolores held her walking stick and walked up to the stage to pay her respects. She also announced the most important thing everyone was anticipating tonight. "Taking advantage of the beautiful day of Harvey's birthday, I want to announce that Harvey is going to be married tonight. Thank you all for coming and witnessing this blessed moment with us." The crowd was in an uproar. Before this, they had no idea that this was a wedding ceremony. Norman was sitting on the second floor's railing, playing with the small fidget spinner. When he heard this, he was stunned. Not good," Norman called out in a low voice. He turned around and was about to leave when 3 men in black surrounded him. Norman's eyes turned cold. "What do you want? I can move freely, can't I?" "I'm sorry. Your grandmother has given us orders to keep an eye on you until CEO Cage is officially married. Please cooperate with us." Norman turned around and looked at the 3 men. Then he turned around and stopped talking. He felt that something was not right. Harvey had not told him anything about this. He felt that something was wrong here, but these people surrounding him could not be easily avoided. If he were to cause trouble openly, not only would he be unable to help, he would be the one who would be in trouble in the end. Therefore, he could only wait and watch. Norman turned around and looked down the stairs. The fidget spinner in his hand was spinning faster and faster. At that time, Zach and Evelyn finally arrived near the manor. They met Raquel, who hurriedly jumped into the car to help Evelyn change her clothes. After changing, Raquel anxiously said, "I saw that the media has already taken their places inside, and whatever is going on is about to start. It would be best if you guys breached quickly. I don't know what I can do to help you, so I will wait for you in the car. Any chances of escape will be high if you run out the back of the house down the hill. I will wait for you there." "Thank you for your help," Zach said, shaking her hand. Raquel shook her head and said, "Zach, you must not let them manipulate my cousin." "Don't worry. It will be fine." Zach comforted her and put on the leather gloves. He had not worn this in a long time, but tonight he had to be ready for anything. He came from a martial arts background. Later on, he became the assistant of the CEO of the Cage Group and rarely needed to practice. Now it was time for him to use his old profession again. Life was indeed unpredictable. Zach brought Evelyn to the iron door. After giving Evelyn a few words of advice, Zach took the lead and walked forward. No one was guarding the door, but before Zach could say enter, the men in black saw him and came out to stop him. "Sir, please come back. Mrs. Cage has already given her orders. You can't go in today." "I'm going in even if I have to force my way in today. Get lost." Zach's attitude was firm. The man who threw the punch was immediately stunned. He understood that he would force his way in, so he had no choice but to attack. "We will stop you even if we have to use force." "Let's see if you have the ability to do so." Episode 239, Evelyn to the Rescue. Zach was very strong. The guards were no match for him, and the three of them couldn't even get close to him. Evelyn took advantage of this time to quickly sneak in through the back door. She did not dare to enter through the main door, so she could only lower her body and crawl through the bushes. Evelyn walked to the back door. She dusted off the dirt from herself and entered the manor. The manor was very big, and after entering, Evelyn did not know the direction to the banquet hall. Along the way, she stumbled and fumbled around. It was not easy for her to hide from people and enter undetected. The hall was very big. Evelyn was at the outermost spot, far from the main stage. When Evelyn went in, the lights around her instantly dimmed. It was the time when Harvey led Alyssa in. Alyssa was wearing a white veil today. She looked extremely beautiful. Being led by Harvey, she looked like the most beautiful bride in the world. Evelyn held her breath and almost shouted Harvey's name, but she knew she couldn't. There was too much applause around, which would drown out her voice. Just as Evelyn was trying to get closer, she suddenly discovered that many men in black suits were shuttling back and forth in this room. It seemed that they were controlling the scene to check if any suspicious people had appeared. There were 2 men in black walking toward her. Evelyn hurriedly turned her body to the side, but that proved to be a mistake, as it drew even more attention. "The maid in the front, what is your station?" the man in black asked as he walked over. Evelyn was so scared that she shivered and walked forward, pretending not to hear him. "No, don't get caught at a time like this." Evelyn's actions had attracted the attention of 2 other bodyguards. Although she tried to pretend she was calm, her hands were already trembling. Right at that moment, a person suddenly stood in front of her. Evelyn did not even dare to raise her head and subconsciously wanted to leave, but she heard a gentle voice with a smile. "May I ask if there is still any more of that wine? I still want another cup." The voice was soft and gentle. It had the power to calm people down. It sounded like an illusion, but it wasn't an illusion when she looked up. Indeed, an old friend was standing right in front of her. Luke smiled and said, "I want to have another drink you gave me just now. Can you pour me one?" When the 2 men in black saw Luke talking to her, they stopped moving forward and turned away. Evelyn was so nervous that she started to stutter. She looked at him and said, "Luke, why are you here?" Luke frowned and looked at her. "I was invited here. Why are you dressed like this?" Evelyn blinked her eyes and suddenly remembered her purpose. She turned to look at Harvey and the woman she did not know. Evelyn grabbed Luke's hand and said, "Luke, help me. There are too many guards here. I don't think I can do it on my own. Please help me." Luke saw that she was so anxious that he quickly consoled her. "Evelyn, calm down. Please tell me what you want me to help you accomplish." Evelyn bit her lips and took a deep breath. "I want to go to Harvey's side. Bring me to the main stage, Luke." Luke was startled. He looked at it for a moment. Then a clear picture started to form in his mind. That day, Harvey had held her in his arms, trying to warn him away, and now she was dressed like this. "Are you planning to create trouble at this wedding?" Luke asked in a low voice. Evelyn nodded and said, "I cannot let this happen." Luke's heart sank. A sharp pain suddenly rushed up, but was forcefully suppressed by him. He held Evelyn's hand and whispered, "Evelyn, what are you doing? You are going against the Cage family." Because she loved Harvey, she couldn't bear to see him get married. But from the looks of it now, this ceremony was proceeding with Harvey's consent. She might not be able to stop it, no matter what she did. Evelyn had no time to explain. She saw Harvey and Alyssa standing on the stage. Before he said he would marry the woman next to him, she had to wake him up. Even if she could not shake sense into him, she had to knock him out. Either way, she wanted to ruin the ceremony. Luke, I don't have time to explain. Please take me there. I need your help now. Please. Evelyn looked at him with pleading eyes. She felt helpless, and her palms were sweating. It reminded Luke of the year she lost her parents. She had needed him then, but instead of standing by her side, he had run away. He had regretted his cowardice ever since. He had then sworn that if she ever needed help, he would do anything for her. Evelyn needed him, no matter what the reason was. She needed him, so he would help her without any question.
Okay, Evelyn, I'll take you there,
Luke said. He suddenly took off his suit and covered Evelyn with it. Alyssa looked at Harvey affectionately and stood face to face with him. Alyssa was saying something, but Evelyn could not hear her at all. Luke's strong and powerful arms held her, and she shuttled through the crowd. She did not know what was happening, and was not in the mood to listen to Alyssa's voice. She only vaguely heard Alyssa say that she always wanted to be with him. Evelyn's small hands clenched. Do you love each other? She thought. What right do you have? You don't understand him at all. What right do you have to say such shameless things? Harvey looked at Alyssa. Under the light, Alyssa's face was very beautiful. It was so beautiful that he felt dizzy. However, he felt that something was not right. That shouldn't be the case. She was the one he loved. She gave him warmth and hugged him when he needed her. She tied the chain to his hand and said she would wait for him. He desired her so much, but why was his heart not beating fast when he held her hand? A figure flashed through his mind, but he could not catch it. What's wrong with you? It's your turn to say your vow. Alyssa urged him anxiously when she saw he was not moving. Harvey raised his eyes and looked at Alyssa. The hypnotic effect once again confused him. He nodded and opened his mouth.
I want to marry
At that moment, Luke had already brought Evelyn to the front. The guards behind him had already noticed that something was wrong and came over. Luke pushed Evelyn and said,
We are here. If you really want to do this, I will think of a way to stop those guards.
Luke, you... Evelyn looked back at him in a daze. Luke smiled gently at her and said,
Evelyn, I will help no matter what this time. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here with you.
He silently encouraged her,
so don't be afraid. Whatever you do, don't be afraid.
Episode 240, An Imposter. Evelyn's heart thumped hard in her chest, but she did not say anything. She thanked Luke from the bottom of her heart. Actually, she had never blamed him for running away. He was her kindest protector. Evelyn took a deep breath and turned around. She quickly ran to the main stage and shouted as she ran, Harvey, you don't want to marry her at all. Wake up! Her voice sounded so loud in the quiet banquet hall. Mrs. Cage was sitting by the side of the stage and heard Evelyn's voice. Her face immediately changed, and she shouted to the staff behind her, Get this wild girl out of here quickly! The crowd was in an uproar. Many people were discussing it. Who is it? Look over there. There's a woman in a maid attire running towards the stage. Evelyn scrambled to the stage and grabbed Harvey's arm. Evelyn looked at him anxiously. Harvey, I am Evelyn. Look at me. You don't want to marry this woman. Wake up quickly. Don't let others control you. Don't be fooled. Where did this crazy woman come from? Are you a stalker of Harvey's? Quickly, come and take her away. Alyssa felt bad when she saw Evelyn. She took a few steps forward and pulled Evelyn's arm away. Alyssa tightly held Harvey's hand. In just a few seconds, there were already some who rushed forward to pull Evelyn back. Harvey, remember what happened yesterday? The fair, the fireworks, and the chain. Remember what you promised me. The security guards dragged Evelyn down to the ground. She fell off the edge of the stage and struggled to get up. Evelyn continued to talk to Harvey. A security guard quickly covered her mouth. 2 guards were holding her down, and one of them was covering her mouth. She couldn't speak, and her arm was twisted painfully, but she kept looking at Harvey. On the stage, Harvey's eyes also fell on Evelyn. He looked at her in a daze. There was confusion in his eyes, but there seemed to be something rolling around in his mind and heart. He did not know why his heart was affected by this woman. Alyssa's heart was in her throat when she saw that the situation wasn't good. She couldn't mess things up here. She wanted to become Harvey's wife, his true wife. Today was her only chance. and she absolutely couldn't let it be ruined. Harvey, this woman is crazy. This place is a bit chaotic. Let's go back to the room first, okay? Alyssa got up and stood in front of Harvey. She shook his hand and said gently. She tried to tell Harvey not to listen to Evelyn and not to look at her. She wanted to take Harvey away from here. But Harvey's eyes fell on Evelyn, and he found himself unable to move. Seeing her being dragged by those people made him extremely unhappy. Who was she? Who was Evelyn? Why did this name sound so familiar? Don't hold her. Let her go. Luke felt anxious when he saw Evelyn being dragged away. However, he was also surrounded at that moment. Many of the guests also stopped him from getting closer to Evelyn. Luke was burning up with anxiety as he watched her being bullied. He didn't feel good about it. He wanted to rush in front of her and shield her from all the troubles. At that time, Dolores came out of nowhere and shouted at the bodyguards, "Where did this wild girl come from? Drag her out and throw her outside. Today is a joyous day, and we will not press charges for now. But consider this your last warning. We will not be so considerate next time." Evelyn glared at Dolores with hatred written all over her face. This was the person who was forcing Harvey to marry against his wishes. She was not worthy of being his family. She was not worthy. Evelyn struggled with all her might. She wished she could pounce forward and take a bite out of her. However, her hands and feet were locked down, making her unable to move. The security guards dragged her out. The guests were pointing at her and making sarcastic remarks. The media reported fiercely about the CEO of the Cage Group announcing his wedding and the girl that interrupted it all. However, these were not important to Evelyn. She tried her best to look at Harvey, standing motionless, looking at her blankly. Her heart ached, and tears fell. She was useless. She had no power, and she could not help him in any way. She could not become the person who would save him. Harvey was about to be shackled to someone who would never love him. He was no longer the Harvey she could wait for. He was at the mercy of this cold family. What do I do to help you walk out of the fog? Harvey, why can't I do anything? She wondered. That woman is just a nuisance. Harvey, don't worry about her. Alyssa saw that Evelyn was about to be dragged out. She felt relieved and turned to Harvey with a smile. Halfway through her sentence, Alyssa froze because she could feel that Harvey's mood had changed. Harvey looked at her and coldly opened his thin lips to say, "Don't mind. How can I not care about her? She is the woman I care about the most. As for you, you are an imposter." Harvey! Alyssa's face turned pale, and she trembled as she called his name. Harvey shook her hand away and sneered. "How do you dare call me by my name?" Alyssa was so scared that she took a step back. She already understood that the hypnosis effect had disappeared. Harvey was now clear-headed. Seeing that Harvey was no longer looking at her and was about to walk toward Evelyn, Alyssa trembled. She did not know where she got the courage to do so, but she grabbed Harvey's arm and said with a trembling voice, "Harvey, this is the wedding arranged by your family. It is being broadcasted live. Unless you do not want to continue to be the CEO of the Cage Group, you cannot stop this wedding." Harvey glanced at her coldly. There was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. He shook off her hand with force. "Don't try to threaten me with this. You want me to marry you? Dream on." Harvey turned around and jumped off the stage without looking back. In front of everyone, Harvey walked quickly to Evelyn, who was being dragged away. As he walked, Harvey snapped, "Let her go! If anyone touches her again, I will cripple them." The few men dragging Evelyn were stunned when they heard what Harvey said. They turned around and saw Harvey walking toward them. His pair of stormy eyes seemed like he could kill anyone. They were so scared that they let go of Evelyn. Dolores saw that it was not good and wanted to stop Harvey, but he was really angry this time. When he got to her side, he coldly said, "Don't try to stop me if you don't want to lose face and status in the entire city." Dolores's face turned ugly. She gripped her walking stick tightly and did not stop him. Her mind was a mess. Her plan had failed. But now it was a live broadcast in New York City and possibly worldwide. The appearance of Evelyn was already a disaster. Was the Cage family going to become the laughingstock of everyone? She had devoted her entire life to the family, yet she would be responsible for destroying all of this in her later years? Harvey walked to Evelyn's side. Evelyn looked at him with tears in her eyes. She choked and said, "Harvey,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I made you cry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let you be treated like this."
Harvey held her hand and said. Evelyn quickly shook her head. "It's okay. Everything is okay as long as you are fine. Let's go. Let's leave this place."